X or Y who did it, but I'm only looking at that. What would it be?
Now, you see, there's a difficulty in policing, right? In policing the guidelines. To the candidates, their responsibility should have been not to encourage the public.
Their followers.
Yes, especially as you said, FDC actually came out and said, we will not comply, right? And for whatever reason they gave, I think that was an error in judgment, an error in leadership. And then whatever happens, you see, when people come out like grasshoppers from the grass and they surround you, then the question is, how is that one policed, right? So there should be some form of management. But in the process, there was a lot of violence that was meted out to members of the public. And I think that too was unfortunate in trying to police that situation. And then there was also violence that was meted out to some of the supporters of candidates. Yes, as you said, one of the candidates, one of the parties, actually came out irresponsibly to the extent of saying we will not comply with these guidelines, instead of saying that, look, we have a difficult situation, how do we try to manage this situation? And you see how you go around it.
Yes.
Honorable, as a doctor, Professor
Yes,
Maria.
you can call me anything you want.
Professor,
you can call me Mr. At least I'm not a lady. Professor, call me Mrs. So, for me, you know, whether it is the EC, with the candidates, you always find something. Like on the process, you know, if you look at the Presidential Elections Act, candidates are allowed to consult for 1 year. You know, when you're a presidential aspirant, before you become a candidate, you're allowed to consult. And that's when some candidates come up with structures that are going to help them, maybe even structures for agents and so on. But some of the candidates were not allowed to do that. So they can complain about that. You know, they can go to court and make a case. But is it good enough to overturn the outcome of an election? When it comes like to nominations, you know, our constitution has not yet changed. And there are these timelines that are given to the EC within which to conduct elections. For the previous 2 elections, 2011, these elections were conducted on the 18th of February, not 14th of January.
Not January.
So in this period of COVID, where we are not going to have rallies, we are supposed to meet people, voters, convince them. Why didn't the EC do the nominations a bit early? Or if you did them at this time, why didn't it allow these people the voting to take place? The
nominations were not even early. They were at the same time because you nominated on the 4th.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, the EC in itself, which had this mandate, did not give the candidates enough time. And now what happened? The candidates also said COVID is being used as a tool by the other people, by the government and so on. So people in the villages actually believed it. That's why they were coming up in big numbers, without masks, without anything. They thought it is a political tool. Yet people are dying. So you see that the candidates are to blame. The EC has some issues. And, you know, so for me, what I see here really is that it is somebody's right. And at times when you go to court, you confirm the outcome. Then it is done. When right when members went to court, the election was confirmed, but something good came out, reforms. Whether all of them have not been implemented is another issue, but at least something came out. But at times they should not just go to court for the sake of going to court. So, for me, really, there were issues with the process. That we should agree. And even in the last 3 months, there are issues in terms of how the EC has handled some of these issues. But now, in the last 3-4 days, we are seeing steady progress. Things are moving on well. So the issue is, should people come out and riot? Should people, me, I'm saying, let people accept these results. Because even if we repeat them in the next 3 weeks, this is still a COVID era. Actually, this time, the Electoral Commission will say no campaigns at all. We shall conduct the elections again if somebody said that. No campaigns. And people will come back and vote the same thing. And shall account the same results. Because now, if these opposition candidates have not been able to field agents in more than 40% of the polling stations across the country, you know, and they come up and say, I was rigged, but the agents were not there. You can't say, in all those polling stations, people were beaten. I mean, I can mention for you parties, I know, like ANT, almost had no agents. These independent candidates had no agents. DP had agents in a few places. FDC, only where they had candidates. Nope, the same thing. So again, you know, for me, I think we should not just engage in these court cases for the sake of it. Let's be realistic let this thing pass, let's count our losses, and then aim at 2026.
Honorable Sebalu, the process doesn't seem to be fair to Wasole and the others. Let's talk about the process.
Yeah, I think we need to ask ourselves, why is it that they are talking about a process that is free and fair? Maybe they would be talking about a process that is free and perfect, because there is no such a thing as a perfect electoral process where you are dealing with human beings as candidates, as supporters, as law enforcers, as managers of the process. Definitely, you need to appreciate room for dynamics that may create omissions or commissions which are not deliberate. You know, what should be of essence is being deliberative about a certain action that has the basis of affecting the electoral process and the credibility of the electoral process, and therefore lead to questioning of the legitimacy of the electoral outcome. Now, regarding the different actors, you have the candidates. How did the candidates conduct themselves? Did they offer leadership, given the level of challenge we were having? We were managing a very disrupted process. Elections, by their nature, go with numbers. But the kind of situation we found ourselves in is that we had to manage numbers in order to ensure and guarantee the security and the health of our people.
Okay.
So how did candidates manage that process themselves? You find situations where candidates were in conformity, tried to conform to the standard operating procedures. There are those who pronounced themselves straight away that they are going to defy. There are those who deliberately would go out of their way to work up crowds. There's a situation, a candidate is going to Soroti, but he branches off in Jinja to the marketplace. That is being very deliberative about reaching out people, and yet the leadership in any candidate would be such that you avoid such. So you need to look at it at that level. We need to look at the leaders of the parties. What positions did the parties take? There are parties which came out deliberately and stated they are going to play by the rules. Dynamics could vary here and there, but the party position is that we want to follow the procedures as laid out. You go to the supporters. The supporters also needed to be reined in by the leadership. How did they conduct? You go to the security organs. There are cases where security could be able to manage processes without being very high-handed, or where you would imagine that you would engage, persuade, but you find the situations even where security tried to advise candidates and they go into a confrontational nature to the extent of abusing the security officers at times. Then you go to Electoral Commission. They had their role in terms of how they would respond to some of the issues raised by the candidates, some of the issues raised by the supporters. So we need to do the going to court is part of the process. If one has good ground, if one feels that processes were not fair to him, that is the end tail of the process. It is provided for within the law, and the laws and the judiciary is mandated to deal with that. You know that when a petition is filed, then the court is supposed to give it precedent and take it on, and nothing should be done before it is disposed of. That is why even the swearing-in ceremony is also conditioned to the fact that there shouldn't be any petition pending before someone is sworn in. The idea is that they don't want someone who is sworn in to be disoriented and disturbed after swearing in, attending to petitions. So you find that the process...
It happened in Ghana.
I'm sure many lawyers now are hoping that actually petition goes to court.
It happened in Ghana in the last election, not this other one here where Kufa won, but the other election. They were still in court before the courts actually could pronounce themselves. Then the president was being sworn in.
Yeah, that's their constitution.
So our law foresaw such an occurrence and tried to preempt such, so that when one assumes office, he's free of any kind of encumbrance and is then ready to serve the people. So the electoral laws are very clear. That is part of the process. If it came, it is not out of the ordinary because it is provided for. So for me, I don't find any problem.
Okay.
The only problem is where people abuse the law, bringing in something for the sake of it, to be diversionary, or to explain their laws, or to try and create another narrative.
Never describe something as bringing in for the sake of bringing in. There is what we call the political process.
The political conscience.
The political process. You see, because it's good to have, as you say, a free and fair election. It cannot be perfect, but it has to be seen to be free and fair. If there are serious question marks, they raise political questions. You may not solve those questions in the law court, but you'll have to deal with them in the political field. That is a reality. There are unfortunate incidents that took part in the electoral process. One of the people who died, over 50 people died, mainly here in Kampala. Right? And there are people who are bitter about that. And they're not looking at whether people went and voted correctly or not. They see that as something that is material to the election. There were people who were arrested on the entourage of a particular candidate, and they are still behind bars. They have been accused of X, Y, and Z. People look at these things as political, and it's unfortunate. It could be that the candidates and their agents are engineering these things, but the point is, it is still a political issue that will, at a political level, is going to have to be handled.
Yeah, I want to agree with you where there is credible evidence. I've lost an election before, and my agents came and they were like, at least you put a case to disturb the person. I said, no, I can't go in for the sake. Yeah, they were like, don't allow him to enjoy comfort of incumbency.
Professor, but he has lawyers who want to get some money.
And people, so the issue of leadership is important, because I said, look, I simply cannot do anything. And it was during the time when there was that wave of Besige, which swept Wakiso. I fell a victim of the same. I said, look, there was nothing, so I shouldn't go in for the sake of it, because I want to disturb the person who has won.
Take the example of Amama Mbabazi, who took a case last time. He came in whatever position he came in.
He was number 3 with 1%.
What were the chances of the court overturning the election in his favor?
Okay. Well, I think we should hold it here, because from what I can see at the National Tallies Center, Justice Byabakama Mjenyi, I should be now walking to the decision seat or the decision chair to read to us the verdict.
Coming to 22 minutes.
It's 22 minutes. Well, and he's still
to the 4 p.m.
which is mandatory. Yes, because he has about 40 minutes to the mandatory time. But because everybody stands in there, we wait to hear from Justice Byabakama Mjenyi, who is going to read to us the verdict of the decision that Ugandans did in the polls this time round. Now, that is at Chambogo, the National Tallies Center. There comes the man of the moment. He's doing it for his very first time, and we are just getting ready to hear from him, because he's the one supposed to deliver to this country the next president. And nobody except him. Except him. We'll wait to hear from him. He's the man of the moment. Well, there we are. We just want to welcome you to the National Tallies Center, but the election hub is open, and of course here to let you know everything as it continues happening. We'll take you to Chambogo now.
And without taking any more time, I would like to invite the Secretary of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Leonard Mlekwa, to make just a brief comments, and then invite the chairperson to address us this afternoon. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, my colleague Paul, our distinguished invited guests, Lord Chair, and members of the Commission, all our invited stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Mine is very simple, but before I invite the Lord Chair, allow me to thank the Commission and the Commission staff and all the stakeholders who have participated, right from our voters, the political parties, the citizens who offered themselves for the various elective offices to lead us, the civil society, the media, our security personnel, and you, our distinguished observers and development partners, and your excellencies present here in your various roles you have played in supporting the Electoral Commission to see us today and in the manner in which we look. And want to thank the Lord for that, for your support. I want to most sincerely thank the Electoral Commission staff for their commitment to deliver. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to say we are fulfilling what the Constitution demands of us in the 48 hours. We are now here and would like to thank you most sincerely. With those few words, I would like to take the honor to introduce and invite Lord Chair, Justice Byabakama Mugeni Simon, to address the distinguished guests, address the country, address the world over the presidential elections that took place on Thursday this week. Lord Chair, you are welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, our distinguished guests in your respective capacities. Permit me to omit the protocol aspect due to time constraints. On behalf of the Electoral Commission, I wish to welcome you to this National Elections Results Study Center, and particularly to the final declaration of results of the presidential elections 2021. First of all, the Commission wishes to congratulate the people of Uganda upon the successful conduct of the presidential and parliamentary elections that took place on the 14th of this month. We are glad to note that the elections have been held and concluded as scheduled in accordance with the roadmap we issued in December 2018. The Commission salutes the resilience and determination of the Ugandans to overcome the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic and meet the requirements of the Constitution. Inclusive that are scheduled on designated dates in January and February 2021. The Commission appreciates national and democratization processes of this country. We further express gratitude to our staff and all the election officials and all stakeholders, especially the security agencies, the National COVID-19 Task Force, and the interagency cooperation through the National Organizing Committee, who provided the necessary support at the various levels towards the successful conclusion of these elections. Further, the Commission wishes to thank all the candidates that offered themselves for both the presidential and parliamentary elections, and wishes to congratulate the successful candidates in these elections. We also appeal to other participating candidates and their supporters to remain calm and accept the outcome of these elections. Finally, the Electoral Commission appreciates the government of Uganda for fulfilling its duty to finance the election budget. The Commission wishes to remind all Ugandans, and especially the victorious the candidates and their supporters, to be mindful of the existing COVID-19 pandemic and continue observing the standard operating procedures as they celebrate their victory in the elections. The Commission is now pleased to proceed to declare the results of the presidential elections in accordance with Section 57 of the Presidential Elections Act, and undertakes to share the detailed results with all stakeholders. For God and my country, I thank you. Declaration of the presidential elections results. Under Article 103, Clause 7 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and Section 57 of the Presidential Elections Act. Whereas a presidential election was held on the 14th day of January 2021, at which the candidates were Amuriat Oboy Patrick, Kabuleta Kiza Joseph, Kalembe Nancy Linda, Katumba John, Kyagulanyi Sentamu Robert, Mao Norbert, Mayambala Willie, Mugisha Muntu Greg, Mwesije Fred, Tumukunde Henry Kakurugu, and Yoweri Museveni Tubuhaburwa Kaguta. And whereas polling for the presidential elections closed at 4 p.m. on the 14th of January 2021, and whereas the Electoral Commission has ascertained the results of the presidential elections, now therefore, in exercise of the powers conferred on the Electoral Commission by Article 103, Clause 7 of the Constitution and Section 57 of the Presidential Elections Act, the Commission publishes and declares the results of the presidential elections as follows. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 9,978,093. Scores by each candidate. Amuriat Oboy Patrick, 323,536 valid votes polled by the said candidate, which represents a percentage of 3.24 of the total valid votes cast. Kabuleta Kiza Joseph, 44,300, which represents 0.44%. Kalembe Nancy Linda, 37,469, representing 0.38%. Katumba John, 35,983, representing 0.36%. Kyagulanyi Sentam Robert, 3,475,298, 3,475,298, representing 34.83%. Mao Norbert, 55,665, representing 0.56%. Mayambala Wile, 14,657, presenting 0.15%. Mugishamuntu Greg, 65,334, representing 0.65%. Mwesige Fred, 24,673, representing 0.25%. Tumukunde Henry Kakurugu, 50,141, representing 0.50%. Yoweri Museveni Tibuhaburwa Kaguta, 5,851,037, representing 58.64%. Total number of invalid votes, 381,386, amounting to 3.68% of the total number of votes cast. The total number of votes cast, 10,359,479, amounting to 57.22% of the total number of registered voters. Now, therefore, candidate Yoweri Museveni Tibuhaburwa Kaguta, having obtained the highest number of votes in the election and the votes cast in his favor being more than 50% of the valid votes cast at the election, the Electoral Commission declares Yoweri Museveni Tibuhaburwa Kaguta elected President of the Republic of Uganda at the presidential election held on the 14th day of January 2021, dated this 16th day of January 2021.
Well, thank you so much. And it's now breaking news. Yoweri Museveni Tibuhaburwa Kaguta has been declared the winner of this year's election 2021 as Uganda's choice. Now it is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni doing it again and winning it again. It is official right from the National Tally Center and of course at the National and at the Elections Hub here at UBC TV. Congratulations, Yoweri Museveni Tibuhaburwa Kaguta and the National Resistance Movement Party.
One presidential elections. And before us we have the official seal of the commission, which says the commission will ascertain and publish under its seal the results of the elections. And I think that's what we see, the signing, and then the sealing, and then the declaration of the results that has been made. It goes out now that Uganda has an elected president, a president-elect. The copies of these results and the detailed results are going to be loaded on the website, and they've already been sent out to presidential candidates and the political parties which participated in this election. So the processes that are going on now are open to all in accordance with the law about declaration of results and transmission of results. So once again, we congratulate the people of Uganda on having come out to participate in this election and continue to send out the message that has come out throughout this electoral campaign, that let's keep the peace, let's accept the result and the decision of the people. Our neighbors, our communities, the way they have voted could be different from you, but we remain one community, we remain one people, the people of Uganda. And we need to work together to keep the peace, the harmony in our communities, and to continue working together for the good of our country. same environment that we enjoy, the beauty of Uganda that we all cherish so much. Let's keep it safe, let's keep it peaceful, and then that's how we'll advance our country, even before, during, and after elections. So that's the message we continue to send out. Elections coming up next week include special interest group selections, which are very critical representation of various special interest groups, workers, persons with disabilities, older persons, as well as the youth, and elections on the 29th for the UPDF. So if you're out there and you're still a candidate in the race, the elections are still on, the standard operating procedures still apply. Even as we go out, like the chairperson said, full of joy, celebrating the victory of our candidates, let's be mindful that we need to take care because we still have a common enemy called COVID-19. So the standard operating procedures still apply concerning how we gather, how we behave when we go out of our homes. Becomes now a very critical legal document, and every part of the page must be scrutinized by the commissioners and to ensure that all signatures that need to be there are actually appended onto the document. Members of the press, this is going to be shared with us shortly. Copies will be made available, as well as copies of the results that have been published today in formats, a wide range of formats, soft and hard copy formats to you. The Secretary will now proceed to seal, place the seal of the Commission in accordance with Section 57 of the Presidential Elections Act, which says the Commission shall publish, declare results under its seal. And this is what makes the Commission the final authority on the results, because no one else has the seal that the law prescribes for purposes of declaration of the elections. So this is a special assignment and mandate that is given to the Commission. And now we are witnessing the placement of the seal onto the results. Now those become results of the elections with the signatures, the seal, and an official document letterhead that can now be quoted and cited as authority concerning the conclusion of the presidential elections that we held on Thursday. Once again, we congratulate the people of Uganda on participating in the elections at presidential and parliamentary level. And still send out a reminder, we still have elections that are going on. Even starting tomorrow, delegates conference for election of representatives of special interest groups, workers meeting at Chivuli Senior Secondary School for their elections, and older persons meeting at regional venues as laid out in the program that we released for purpose of election of the representatives to Parliament. So Parliament is not yet full. There are still positions that have to be filled. So members of the Electoral College are advised and reminded to move, if they have not moved by now, to their respective places where they will have their elections from. Elections of representatives of persons with disabilities to be held at Jinja Civil Service College in Jinja City, and remind those who presented themselves as candidates and members of the Electoral College to proceed to that venue for purposes of the elections. The youth have their elections coming up, regional youth conferences on the 31st of January and the 1st of February. We appeal to the young people to participate in the election, the members of the Electoral College to turn up for that. The UPDF is represented in Parliament, and the election will be held on the 29th of January at Bombo, Land Force Headquarters. I think that's what they call it, Bombo. And that one will be an exercise that will lead to election of the 10 representatives of the UPDF to Parliament. We have other elections coming up next week for district local governments, chairpersons and mayors and their councillors, and elections coming up on Wednesday, on the 20th, across the country. So we still have elections that will be moving on, rather going on across the country, to have district local governments also elect their leaders. On the 3rd of February, we'll have under our roadmap the last set of elections for chairpersons and councillors for sub-counties, town councils, and municipal divisions.
Here in Chambogo by the Electoral Commission, where we have gotten the results for the presidential elections that we had this very week on the 14th of January 2021, another day written in the books of Uganda's history. Just to repeat a little bit of the results, Yoweri Museveni Tibuhaburwa Kaguta has garnered 5,851,037 votes. That is a 58.64% of the vote cast on Thursday, and he has been declared President of the Republic of Uganda. The second contender is Chagulanyi Sentamu Robert, who has garnered 3,475,298 votes, which is a 34.83% of the vote. And number 3 is Amriat Oboy Patrick, the FDC candidate, who has garnered 323,536 votes, which is a 3.24%. Mujisha Muntu came in as number 4, that is the ANT candidate, with 65,334, and that is a 0.65%. And Norbert Mao of the DP was number 5 with 55,665, a 0.56%. Tumukunde Henry Kakurugu, who has been an independent candidate, garnered 50,000 votes, 141, and that is a 0.5%. Kableta Kiza Joseph, another independent candidate, garnered 44,300 votes, and that is a 0.44%. He was followed by Kalembe Nancy Linda, also an independent candidate and the only female in the race, who garnered 37,469 votes, which is a 0.38%. Katumba John, the famous Katumba Oye, has garnered 35,983 votes, which is a 0.36%, and Katumba is ahead of Message Fred, who garnered 24,673 votes, which is a 0.25%. Mayambala Willie, the only candidate who is actually here, just behind me, is last on the list, and he got 14,657 Ugandans who believed in him, and to them, that is the man who should be President of the Republic of Uganda, and that is a 0.15%. those are the results, and we had the total number of votes cast as 9,978,093 votes cast. The invalid were 381,386 votes, which is a 3% of the votes cast. Those are the results that have been officially read here by Justice Byabakama and the whole commission here in Chambogo, and that is how the performance was. We started this exercise just yesterday but one, and we have had 10 declarations, and this has been the last one that has given us the final results, with General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni Tibuhaburwa being announced as the winner just a few minutes ago. So we are waiting. We have plans and hopes that we are going to have a chat with Justice Simon Byabakama just a few minutes from now to get to tell us how the whole exercise has been. Remember, this is his first presidential election that he has presided over as chairman electoral commission ever since he was appointed. Remember, the last election was under the under Dr. Badru Chigundu, and then he came in, and this is his first election. So we want to get to know how it has been on his side, what challenges he has faced, what have been the gaps, and where do they expect to correct as the EC, then also plans, because these are just two parts of the elections that have been covered so far, presidential and parliamentary. We still have mayors of the cities, mayors of the town councils, we have their councils, we have local governments in general. Then the people interest group, we have the army that is going to vote, like I've had in a few days. We have persons with disabilities that are going to vote. We have the old persons that are going to vote. We have the workers, we have the youth. All of those elections are going to be they're going to hold their elections. Right now, each candidate's representative is going to receive copies of the results, and I think we should give you an opportunity to witness that on your TV screens, to watch it and see how it's going to be done. The candidates here, candidate Willie Mayambala came in person, and he is seated where the political parties and presidential aspirants were designated to sit. Then I can see other people from the NRM and other people seated in that corner. Probably they must be, or they could be, agents of the different candidates. In the NRM, I can see the treasurer of the NRM party, that is the Honorable Rose Namayanja. I see the national first vice chairperson, that is Alhaji Moses Chigongo. Then the secretary general of the NRM, that is the Honorable Justin Kasule Lumumba. Their director for communications, Honorable Emmanuel Dombo, is also here, and some other two members of the NRM. Then there are some other people seated in this kind of designated area, which is for political parties and presidential aspirants. These could be some of the agents of the political parties and the different presidential candidates already here to witness this. But besides, there are so many people that came to be part of this event, as you can see on your screen. We have people from the security organizations, the agencies, Afande Kasenje, Enanga, Afande Akiki of the UPDF, and Enanga of police and others. Then Baine of the prisons, we can see EC staff. The media, we were given a designated place for us, and we have been here. That's why you managed to have this whole event on your screens and on your radios. We were part of the activity. I can just say it that way. The Interreligious Council, I'm not seeing any religious leader here, unless I have to be corrected, but the observers are here in a big number. Just my camera person can pan and show you. We have observers from the East African Community Election Observer Mission. Yes, here they are. And we have an observer here in white and others. We have other observers on the other end. We have development partners. This is the UN. I can see Miss Rosa Malango and other ambassadors seated at the corner of the diplomats. Then my brothers and sisters in the media world are also here with mounted cameras, definitely to show Ugandans from different areas what has been exactly going on here and what is still being done at this in this tally center. Then at the far end, that's the point with people, actually that's the main tally center, if I'm to borrow the words of Mr. Mulekwa as he explained to us yesterday. That's the tally center, cordoned off with some iron bars and things like that. But those are the people that have been receiving these results, taking verification, and they sent it to Justice Byabakama and team, who have been declaring it to us, the public, officially, after the other team, the other side, had verified it. That's their role, and exactly that is the tally center. So that is the situation here, but
and then that will mark the end of our interaction. We will have the singing of anthems, and then
yes, that is the situation here, and just as you can see, the copies are going to be shared with the different political parties, the different presidential aspirants, and of course the media will get it on behalf of you, the public. There's so many ambassadors here of Ireland, Italy, and other countries. The media has local and international journalists who are all here to ensure that people from far and near get a glimpse or get to know what is happening here. We thank you so much for having followed this broadcast right from Thursday, that is right from Friday up to now, when it's coming to its end. When it's coming to its end. Okuva ekyambogo nga tubawa ebivudde mu kulonda okwaliwo ku Lwokuna wiiki ewedde, tufunye okulangirirwa okuva Justice Simon Byabakama nti Yoweri Kaguta Museveni Tibuhaburwa yawangudde akalulu k'obwa pulezidenti n'obululu 5,885,137 nga bwe butundutundu 58 ku buli 100. Jeffrey Kasaiji njagala yongera otubalirayo mu Luganda, omulabi waffe ali ku Star TV yongera okumanya ebirangiriddwa bino byonna bimenyemenye kirungi bibino wano.
Neyanza nnyo muganda wange Michael Jordan Lukomwa mpaza okwongerayoko enteekateeka yonna nga bwebadde etambula butereevu wano ku Electoral Commission National Tally Center wetusinzira okuba nga ate tubaweereza wano ekyambogo akyenyiza okugamba Yoweri Kaguta Museveni Tibuhaburwa ye yakulembedde yaleebeza banne era nga afunye obululu obukadde 5,951,137 nga bye bitundu 58 n'obutundu 64 ku buli 100. Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert abadde mu kifo ekyokubiri afunye obukadde 3,155,298 era nga bye bitundu 34 n'obutundu 83 ku buli 100. Amuriat Oboy Patrick afunye obululu 3,135,536 nga bye bitundu 3 n'obutundu 24 ku buli 100. Mugisha Muntu Greg n'abeera oluddaawo afunye obululu 6,634 era nga bye bitundu afunyewawo ku buli 100, that is 0.65 ku buli 100 eruddaawo, kitegeeza nti tawezeza na 1% oluuyi olwo. Mao Norbert afunye obululu 5,565 era nga naye afunyewawo noti n'obutundu 56 ku buli 100. Tumukunde Henry Kakurugu afunyewo obululu 5,141 era nga bw'okizaako ku buli 100 mu bitundu ku buli 100 n'aba nga afunyewo nooti n'obutundu 5 ku buli 100. Kabuleeta Kiza Joseph afunye obululu 4,403 era nga bwe bululu ku bitundu ku buli 100 n'afunawo nooti n'obutundu 44 ku buli 100. Kalembe Nancy Linda n'aba nga afunye obululu 3,700 mu bina mu nkaaga mu mwenda nga bye bitundu nooti n'ebitundu 38 ku buli 100. Katumba John n'aba nga afunye obululu emitwalo 3,15 mu 983 nga bye bitundu ebya nooti na katundu 36 ku buli 100. Mwesege Fred n'aba nga afunye obululu emitwalo 2,4 mu 673 nga bye bitundu nooti n'obutundu 25 ku buli 100. Mayambala Wire nga yasembyeyo afunye obululu omutwalo gumu 1,4 mu 657 n'aba nga afunyewo nooti n'obutundu 15 ku buli 100. Tukyali wano ku Electoral Commission National Tally Center ekyambago wetusinziira okuba nga tukutuusaako ebyo ebifa gy'otabadde. Ekigenda mu maaso, omulamuzi Justice Simon Byabakama n'akakiiko ke bakyagenda mu maaso okubaako emikono gye bateeka ku mpapula ez'enjawulo bye balina okuba nga baweereza ababaka baabwe abadde beesimbyewo ku mitendera egy'enjawulo naddala ku mutendera guno ogwa president. Bwe twogerera tulinda okulaba kiki ekinaddirira, tugenda kusigala nga tubeera wano nga tubaweereza kubanga okitegeddeko nti abakungu bangi babaddewo nnyo okulaba nga ate bakutuusaako ebyo ebigenda mu maaso. Nga muganda wange asooseewo Michael Jordan Lukomwa bwakutegeezezza, tubadde n'abakungu ab'enjawulo, tubaddewo n'abo ababadde beegwanyiza entebe y'obukulembeze bw'eggwanga ng'omukulu Wire Mayambala ye abaddewo ye mwennyini nga kwotaddeko ne ba agents ab'enjawulo abakiikiridde ebibiina ebirala. Tuwaliwo n'abakulu b'ekibiina ekya NRM we bali nga bakulembeddwamu Secretary General waabwe Ssaabawandiisi w'ekibiina Justin Kasole Lumumba naye waali nnyo okulaba nga alaba ensonga nga bwe zitambula oludda eno. Waliwo n'abakungu ab'ebyokwerinda nga political commissar owa police omukulu Hassan Kasinje naye waali nnyo okulaba nga ate yetegereza ensonga nga bwe zitambula. Omwogezi wa police mu Uganda Fred Enanga naye waali nnyo nga kwotadde ne amyuka omwogezi w'eggye UPDF Lieutenant Colonel Deo Akiki naye waali mu kizimbe nga kwotadde n'omwogezi w'ekitongole eky'ebyamakomera omukulu Frank Abaine n'abakungu abalala bangi. Ffe bannamawulire tukoze ogwaffe okulaba nga tukutuusako ebigenda mu maaso nga tusinziira wano ekyambago ku National Electoral Commission National Tally Center nga tukumanyisa ebyo ensonga nga bwe zitambula. Abakulu bakyagenda mu maaso n'okwekenneenya ensonga entonotono. Butereevu katusooka tuwulirize ekigenda mu maaso.
Inviting the presidential candidates, president or their representatives to come for a copy of the declaration. I will start with Amriat Oboy Patrick. Is the candidate here or his representatives? None. All right. He will get his declaration later. Kabuleta Kiza Joseph. Is presidential candidate Kabuleta here or his representative?
Yes, right. We have representatives of candidate Kabuleta Joseph
All right.
Kiza.
Can you step forward, please? And receive
Protocol, can you help the team get
Can you step forward and receive a copy of the declaration for your candidate? Okay, thank you. Kalembe Nancy Linda, do we have candidate Nancy or her representative in our midst? Not here. It will be forwarded to her. Candidate Katumba John or his representative? Not here. All right. We shall endeavor to deliver them. Kyagulanyi Sentamu Robert or his representatives? Is he here? Okay. I think someone delivered at Magere. Someone has come. Okay. Okay, you are the representative? Where is your? Sorry, we are just trying to be sure he's a true representative. So we asked him to try and get some further identification. Meanwhile, Mao Nobat, or his representative, is he here? Okay, candidate now, Nobat is not here. Okay. Okay, here you are. Have you confirmed? Okay, thank you. Candidate Mayambala Wile, is he here or his representative?
Candidate Mayambala Wile is present in the House.
Candidate Mugisha Muntu Greg or his representative? Anyone for candidate Mugisha Muntu Greg? Are not here. Candidate Mosije Fred or his representative? Not here. Candidate Tumukunde Henry Kakurugu or his representative? Not here. Candidate Yoweri Museveni Tibuhaburwa Kaguta or his representative? Okay, thank you for those dangerous strokes. I understand that the representative for candidate Amriato Boy Patrick is or a representative from the parties here.
Yes, my Lord. As a representative for candidate Patrick Amariato Boy.
I think this marks the end of this ceremony and the end of the tallying process for the presidential elections. Once again, on behalf of the Electoral Commission, I would like to appreciate all of you, particularly our distinguished guests, the heads of missions, your excellencies, the ambassadors, the heads of the observer missions from afar, members of the press, everybody, thank you. And all the citizens of Uganda watching us, congratulations. May we now move on with our other lives and the activities that matter so much to us as we seek to develop our country, improve on our livelihoods, and ensure peace and stability and security for ourselves, our children, and for future generations. May God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lord Chair. We'll now stand up for the anthems, starting with the East African anthem. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And as we exit, members of the commission will remain behind for our official photo session. And our official photographer, like we say, please you could come and take that. We'll interact after that. Yes, thank you.
Yes, a very good afternoon once again to you tuned in to UBC TV. We are still coming to you live from Chambogo, where the NRM are celebrating having been declared winners, and maybe we would love to talk to them as they celebrate. Honorable Kasule Lumumba, congratulations.
Thank you. Beginning with the chairman.
Okay. Sir, I'm honored to talk to you. Congratulations, NRM.
Thank you very much.
What does this victory mean to you?
It means a lot to all Ugandans.
How about you, the party that is in celebration?
I'm happy for having won the elections. Yes.
You have won with the...
all those people who participated in these elections, especially the presidential candidates, all of them, for the good job they have done. They have shown Ugandans they can lead. That is very good.
You have won with the 54%. What does that mean to you?
54%, because it is good, because the mark required is 51%, which they thought we might not get it. But I'm happy to see that we have got more than that, more than they were expecting from us.
You have been given a hard time by a young party. What does that mean again?
That means our children have grown now. That's very good and healthy. So they will have to participate in other elections. They are coming out, and we need people to come up. That's quite okay.
We wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that is the chairman, the national vice chairperson of the NRM, Alhaji Moses Chigongo, and that is his view. Of course, it is a celebration mode here for the NRM. We are trying to see, we are trying our level best to ensure that we get at least a word from the Justice Simon Byabakama, His Lordship Justice Simon Byabakama. The NRM has won with 58.64. What does that mean to them? According to them, they say that is good. People expected them to get only 51%, but they have here shot up to 58, and that is good news. About a young party beating them and giving them hard time to win this time round, still to them is good news. It means their children and grandchildren as a party have grown, that they can even take them on. As you can see on the other side, it's just jubilation mode for the NRM, and they are still celebrating. We thank you so much for watching. We thank you so much for watching. We are still giving you everything live as it throws. Yes, we want to talk to Justice Simon Byabakama, the man that has been in the stewardship of this election. After him declaring the results here in Chambogo. Yes, the election started with nominations early December. In this very point, at this very point in Chambogo, where they mounted the nomination point, and they are finally out of the presidential and parliamentary elections. We are looking at the other elections that are coming in. We have the mayors, the LC5 chairman, local governments in general, and that is what they have managed to give us. Probably we can talk to the observers and get a comment from the observers, and they tell us at least what they have seen. Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Yes. What is your comment about what you have just witnessed in Uganda as an observer?
Beautiful ceremony.
Okay.
Yes, beautiful ceremony.
Have you monitored the whole election from the word-go, from the beginning?
No, we're not. Unfortunately, we're not here from the beginning.
Okay.
Yes.
So how would you, what is your view about what the part that you have witnessed?
The general organization was good.
Okay.
Voting on election day, where we observed, was peaceful, and we noted the very active participation of the youth and the women.
Okay. Just a comment. Okay. Just give us a comment on your personal.
I appreciate the participation of women. Okay. There were many more than men.
Oh, that is beautiful. Your name, Mami, as well?
Minata Samate Sisuma, I'm African Union Commissioner for Political
From which
Affairs.
country?
My origin can Burkina Faso.
Okay, greet them. Your country, sir, and name?
Former chairman of Elections Cameroon. Yeah, of the Electoral Commission of Cameroon.
You're welcome to Uganda, and we wish you all the best. Yes, we want to try our level best to see that we talk to Justice Simon Byabakama and we get at least a comment from him just immediately after. Okay.
We are going to interview, but wait a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, wait a bit.
Yes, Justice Byabakama is still talking to some diplomats here, but of course he is going to give us a minute to get to know how the whole process has been and what next immediately after the presidential and parliamentary elections, what next for them as the Electoral Commission. But as you see, the observers say to them the whole process has been okay and they look forward to seeing more with Uganda. We still have more elections to come. That is the parliamentary, I beg your pardon, parliamentary elections. We still have special interest groups. That is the UPDF, the workers, persons with disabilities. A number of them are still coming on board, and we are waiting to see what the Electoral Commission has and exactly how they're going to hold and handle the remaining bits of the whole exercise. But it is a general process coming in from... Yes, Justice Byabakama, congratulations on finishing this whole exercise.
Thank you.
Yes. How has it been, right from the word go, at least to this moment when you have managed to reach here?
It has been quite fantastic, quite fantastic, given that we had to contend with something that was not foreseen, that is COVID-19.
Yes.
But I want to thank the people of Uganda. First of all, I want to thank God Almighty, and I want to thank the people of Uganda for having fully participated in all the activities that we undertook right from the year 2018. If it were not for their cooperation, we wouldn't have come this far. I want to thank the media, especially the media. They have played a very, very fantastic role in informing the people, sensitizing them, and publicizing our programs, and so on and so forth. We thank you so much, and really we hope that this country will move to a new trajectory. We pray that we all forgive one another, reconcile with one another, and work to build this beautiful country so that together we want to build.
Besides COVID-19, my lord, what are those other challenges that you have encountered as Electoral Commission, and what plans do you have not to face it again?
Yeah, of course, you can see we had the unfortunate episodes of the loss of lives of our dear Ugandans. In an electoral process, really, there shouldn't be such events, there shouldn't be such happenings where people have to shed blood, where people have to lose lives, because an election is supposed to be a peaceful process where we are nurturing and grooming our democracy, where we are electing leaders through peaceful means and not through violence. So it's unfortunate. That was really a very, it was a bad stain on our electoral processes, and we hope that, God willing, in the future we can work to resolve all these issues that bring about some of these unfortunate episodes in our political processes.
Okay, my lord, just my last one, because I know you must be the most tired person in the world
No,
now.
I'm not.
Okay, then let's move on.
Yeah.
Now, you have the remaining bit looks to be bigger. Much as not national like the first ones that we have just concluded today. You have the local governments countrywide, mayors of the cities, mayors of the town councils, and their councils. What kind of plans do you have, especially to ensure that you don't face the challenges you have faced in these two presidential and parliamentary?
Well, first of all, we have the local government elections and all these other remaining elections are still part of the entire electoral roadmap that we rolled out in 2018. And therefore, everything is in place. The ballot papers have been printed, they are ready. The necessary infrastructure is in place, logistics and so on and so forth. So we expect the only thing that we need our voters is not to get weary, not to get tired, and continue with the remaining elections, because the elections that are remaining, particularly for local government, involve leaders at the lower level. Okay. So we want to appeal to all the voters. Please, just like you turned up in big numbers for the presidential and parliamentary elections, we also urge you to turn up big numbers for the local government elections and so on and so forth.
My Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, and thank you, BC, for being there, for all the programs that you have arranged for us, the various talk shows where we have been interacting with the people, informing them of the activities that are taking place. Uganda is the most beautiful country for one to live in, and we pray that we all remain peaceful, we remain committed to serving and promoting and grooming and developing a beautiful country and a beautiful culture of tolerance, love, peace, and forgiveness. Thank you very much.
Thank you too, my Lord. Yes, that is Justice Simon Byabakama. This has been his very first presidential election, him being a new man in the Electoral Commission as chairman. So this is the first presidential election that he has presided over as chairman, and he says, yes, there are some challenges that they have faced, especially the COVID-19, and again, people that died in the scuffles of the politics and things like that. But he says, generally, this has not been so problematic as many would expect.
Uganda. Kyetubasuubiza ennyo bannayuganda ng'ekibiina kya NRM. Tugenda kutuula nammwe mutubuulire obuzibu bwe buli. Abumu badde mutubuulira nga tuzze okutambula okubasaba okutwongera obukulembeze, naye kati tugenda kikolera ddala nga kiri official, kibeeremu n'obuwandiike ne vidiyo zibeerewo nga mutulaga obunafu bwaffe we bubadde mu kibiina ne mu gavumenti okulaba nga twongera okuweereza. Naye nkubiriza abo bonna ababadde abaavaayo okujja okwesimbawo okukulembera Uganda, mujje mukole naffe NRM. Mwenna bannanga abeesimbyewo muleete ebirowoozo bizimbe Uganda. Uganda gye mulisanga mubeere nga mutaddeko ettoffaali eddene, Uganda yeyongera okuba ensi ennungi, ffenna nga tukoledde wamu. Mbayozaayoza, mwebala okuba nti mwenna abeesimbawo ku bwa pulezidenti mutuuse ku kaguwa akasembayo nga buli omu akyafuba okulaba nti alaga bannayuganda nti yasobola okuweereza.
Beeraliikiride naddala abantu abali mu central engeri gye baswipinze ba NRM candidates abasinga obungi balowooza nti service delivery eyinza okukendeeramu.
Bwe wabaawo ekitundu ekisinza okufunamu mu NRM government in terms of service delivery, bw'otunuulira ssente ezigenda mu local governments, Uganda yesinga okutwala biggest share. So bwe wabanga wabaddewo obuzibu nti ensimbi eziva mu gavumenti ne zituuka wansi zibadde tezikozesebwa bulungi, oba wabaddewo obuzibu, bonna tugenda byekenneenya tubitunulemu. Naye kyenjagala ate mumanye nti nga NRM abantu baffe ababadde bakutte ebendera ya NRM ku bifo by'okuba otukiikira mu palamenti, yes, tetwafunye nga namba gye tufuna buli nnaku, naye era tetwaviiriddemu awo. Naffe twafunyeyo ababaka, ate ne Pulezidenti Yoweri Kaguta Museveni nga flaga bearer alina ne districts ze yasinze. Tugenda kusooka tutandikire ku ezo kyekyavuddeko abo ne bawagira NRM ne tusinga ku bifo by'enjawulo, ate tunule n'eri gye batatuwagidde nsonga ki. Naye ate ekirungi teri bwe tuvudde nga tetulina kalulu ke tufunye, era wonna tufunye obululu, ne bwe batusinze tulina obululu bwe tufunye, ng'osanga nti atusinzeeko ba omutwalo gumu oba 15,000 oba naffe tumusinzeeko. So bonna tugenda kutunula mu nsonga eno tugyekeneenye bulungi, tulabe nti tudda wamu. Naye nga njagala obbasaba temutendewalirwa akalulu ka local government, gavumenti z'ebitundu eza district zigenda kulonda. Tugenda okukolera wamu okulaba nti akalulu ako tukasinga. Munisipaali ne cities bagenda kulonda, ate n'amagombola gagenda kulonda. Njagala mujjukire nti gavumenti z'ebitundu ezo ze zisinga okubatuusaako okuweereza omuntu wa bulijjo, ate nga bo bakumanya okuviira ddala awaka. So njagala tuveeyo ffenna aba NRM tugende tukolere wamu. Mu Uganda ebifo ebyalondeddwako bamemba ba palamenti ebifo 498, mu Kamwenge waliyo constituency emu etaalondeddwa, naye ebifo ebyalondeddwako 498 NRM yawangudde ebifo 313. Ekitegeeza nti already NRM tususizza 5 ku 100 mu palamenti. so nekiba kitegeeza nti ffe nga NRM we have the majority already abasinga obungi mu parliament tubalina ago ge maanyi ge tuba tuwongerako tugende tuwangula ebifo ebya gavumenti za wansi.
Milioni 7 n'emitwalo egisuka mu 7 egy'abantu tegyetabye mu kulonda kuno oba oliawo nammwe kibakosa kubanga oba oliawo percentage yalisusewo ku eyo gye mufunye ate si buvunaanyizibwa bw'akakiiko k'ebyokulonda byokka okukola voter education olowooza wa awetaaga okutereeza bannayuganda beetabe mu kulonda?
Ekisookera ddala tulina okutereeza akakiiko ka Human Rights Commission kubanga mu mateeka ke kaweebwa obuvunaanyizibwa okubanga basomesa abantu ku nsonga ezikwata ku nsonga eyo byokulonda naddala okuvaayo okujja okulonda. Naye naffe ng'ebibiina by'obufuzi tufubye naye njagala mujjukire mu biseera ebimu mu bitundu ebimu wabaddewo intimidation, mu bitundu ebimu wabaddeyo violence, ate n'ekirala ekizibu kye tulina kati ffenna ekitukwatira awamu kyekizibu kya obulwadde buno bu COVID-19. So mulimu n'abo abaatukoze eki abaakitidde naye era buvunaanyizibwa bwaffe ffenna ffe ab'ebyobufuzi namwe bannamawulire okubuulira abantu baveyo bajje beerondere abakulembeze abanaabasalirawo ku nsonga ezibakwatako.
Tukyali wano ku Electoral Commission National Tally Center wetusinziira okubanga ate tukuweereza ebyo ebivudde mu kakiiko k'ebyokulonda okuva ewammwe mwe bannayuganda ku kiki kyemusazeewo nga mutusalawo ani anaakulembera eggwanga Uganda. Ndi wa mukisa akaseera kano negatiddwako omukulu Lwanyaga Alex era nga y'omu ku bakulu abakulira ebyokulonda mu kibiina ekyo ekya National Unity Platform ate era nga yabadde agent w'omukulu Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu yaggyeeyo declaration forms ezivudde ew'omukulu omulamuzi Justice Simon Byabakama. Njagala atusigire ekifaanyi ku butya bw'olabye okulonda na kiki ekyagaanye na kiki kye bazzaako ku mulundi guno. Buterevu oli ku UBC TV ne Star TV emyenye eggwanga.
Nayanzanye sewo neyanze gamanya gange nze Lwanyaga Alex abasinga bampita Lovans akiikiridde ekibiina kya National Unity Platform. President Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert yansindise mbere agent we omukiikirira ku kupikinga ebyavudde mu kulonda mu mbeera yonna oba byabadde biri kusaidi bateyadde kusaidi twali tulina okubifuna lwekwe tumanye ekiddako. Ekifaananyi kye tusinza okufuna mu kalulu kano oba mu bivudde mu kulonda kuno ku mutendera gwa president ebyokuyiga bibadde bingi naye fenga nze yakiikiridde ekibiina siri mu mativu n'engeri ebivudde mu byokulonda gyebadde bituweerebwamu bibadde bitulagibwamu kubanga twaweebwa kompyuta ezibadde ng'ekifaananyi gye tuli nga zitusomebwa busomebwa ki ekigenzeeko nga tolaba ngeri ki ekigenda gye zijjamu tolabawo ezivudde wabula nga tufuna kye twandiyise cumulative results ekitabadde nnyo kya bulambulukufu oba kya bugunjufu eri gye tuli kubanga twandibadde tufuna details nga bwe zibadde ziyingiramu okusinziira ku mutendera gwa polling station ku parishi ndowooza paka ku sub county oba olyoka ogenda ku district kubanga obululu obadde busomebwa paka ku district level.
Twasobodde okufuna omukisa okubuuza omulamuzi Justice Simon Byabakama ekibuuzo okutubuulira nti okuba twafunyeko alipoota egamba nti Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu si mu mativu n'ebyo ebigenda okuba nga biva mu kakiiko k'ebyokulonda wabula n'agamba nti ate mmwe ababeera ku polling stations ez'enjawulo mwate abasooka okumanya akagero gye kiri nti declaration forms zisookera eyo nga tezinnatuuka eno. Kyogerako kyekyo
ekyo kituufu olw'ensonga obululu bwonna nga bwe tubadde tubukuŋŋaanya ekisooka ffe nga National Unity Platform tulina DR forms ezavudde mu polling stations naye nga bwe zibadde zisomebwa wano nga tolina bwogenda kusobola kugamba nti kati ezo nziwakanya ezo siziwakanya kubanga ekibadde kijja wano kibadde kiri a summary of the entire country nekigattibwako nekigamba nti the whole country is one constituency. Babannaffe nga twebuuza bwe ba one constituency lwaki tulina abalonzi b'e Kampala ng'ow'e Kampala asobola kulondera Kabera Maido singa yali one constituency. Kitegeeza tebadde ansa ntuufu okuva eri omukulu akuli ebyokulonda. Toyinza kugamba nti it is one constituency. Kitegeeza buli muntu yali asobola okulonda we yali ali singa yali one constituency naye w'e Kampala tasobola okulondera Jinja kubanga it is not one constituency. Each district oba buli district erina boundary zaayo era buli muntu abadde kimukwatako nti we twalondedde wa Kampala we nalondedde president gwe nalonze asinzeewo n'olwekyo abeere mumativu nti obululu bwe yakubye butuuse naye buli bwomuwa ekipooli kitegeeza osobola okugenda n'ojjayo obululu bwa President Museveni Eshema Kayunga awo waasinze nga woolaga. Not surprisingly 1% yaleeteddwa yabadde eraga nti bwatuuse ssaawa 8 ogw'ekiro okuva nga tumaze ssaawa 10 okulonda 1% yabadde yefuniddwako yokka paka saa 8 y'egwekiro. Kitegeeza ekintu kyali kisetingiddwa okuva twatandika. Not surprisingly ku gundi gwe baatuwadde data ebadde nga ka app akabeera akaggulawo, not on server, not anywhere. So ekyo tulowooza nti ogenda maaso ng'eggwanga ebintu by'okuteekateeka ekintu okitegesezenga gwe kinakufunamu gwekka nakyo tukikendeezeeko.
Nga tumaliriza muganda wange mukulu Rwanyaga Alex, twagadde okumanya kati gwe nga akiikiridde ab'ekibiina ku mulundi guno kiki ekiddako, kiki kye tuba tubasuubiramu akagigiri nti akakiiko ko kamaze okulangira ebivudde mu kulonda?
One, siri mwogezi wa kibiina, nakiikiridde kibiina kufuna results. Tugenda kumanya ekigenda okuddibwako officially okusinziira ku mwogezi w'ekibiina okusinziira ku nteekateeka ekibiina kirina kitaddewo. Naye kulwange kyentegeera kiri nti DR forms n'ebivudde wano ne details zetugenda okufuna oba okumenyaamenya kw'ebyo ebivudde mu kulonda ng'ovuddeko summary esayiningiddwa omukulu Byabakama erina okuba nga tufunye details nga eggwanga biri performance ku district, ku sub county oba ku constituency paka ku polling stations. Bwe tunamala okufuna details ezo eggwanga lijja kumanya nti bino bye tukkiriziganya nabyo bino tutakkiriziganya nabyo kusinga ku kyo kino tulina.
Kale tweyanza nnyo muganda wange mukulu Rwanyaga Alex, omukulu yakiikiridde ekibiina kya National Unity Platform okulaba nga atubula ku kikyalowooza ku ebyo ebivudde mu kakiiko k'ebyokulonda. Njagala okugutwala ewa muganda wange Michael Jordan Lukomwa naye akwongereyo nga bwe tulundiza ate omukulu Byabakama ku biki byagenda okutegeeza bannamawulire mu kaseera akaddako akatono. Jordan.
Yes, a very good afternoon once again. Thank you so much, Jethro. We are still coming to you live from the National Tally Center that was mounted here in Chambogo by the Electoral Commission. I have the number 3 party in terms of performance, and I have their secretary for the Electoral Commission in the party, that is Mr. Ojobile Augustine. Sir, good afternoon.
Yeah, good evening. It's already evening. Yeah, you're welcome.
Are you celebrating, are you mourning what is in FDC in as regards as the results that you have just received a few minutes ago from the Electoral Commission about the election?
Yeah, this whole thing is not about FDC. It's about the country called Uganda. Whatever happens in an election, it is it's a formula that will actually represent how a country is run and how a country must feel. So it is not about a feeling in FDC. It is a feeling in the country.
This is why I'm asking you that. You are a party that came in a race, and the results you have just received is what tells your performance in the race. So what do you make of the results as a party? So that's what I want to mean with the feeling.
The results that have been put on paper are not the actual representation of the people's aspiration. That is what I am trying to say. Okay. The issue is that even when I have got 99%, can I be declared? That is the feeling we must be talking about. Because there has been a representation in districts which indicate that Mr. Museveni has not won. But
have you won as the FDC?
As FDC, we have always won.
We are talking about this particular election of 2021.
You see,
have you won?
You see,
denied the victory.
The issue is, winning is one thing from any other person who would represent that view. Okay. The issue about victory here, what we are talking about is that Uganda must win, not FDC, just FDC. Uganda must win. So the situation I am speaking about right now is that Uganda has not won because their representation in the ballot has not been brought out as it was.
You are dodging my question about the performance of your party currently. What explains the performance of the FDC currently? You are number 3 with not even 5%. What could be the problem internally, or what could be the problem? Just tell us generally.
FDC has no problem.
Why are you performing that way? A party that we knew that has been in vibrancy for the last 20 years. What is the problem?
First, for correction, FDC is in existence for 16 years.
Yes.
2, FDC has not performed poorly. It has got 37 members of parliament, which are the same number of members of parliament last term. In the same way, these members of parliament, wherever they came from, we were winning. So what explains the results on the presidential? That's why I'm telling you, Uganda has got results where they have not been represented.
So what next in your party after now? Because much as you're dodging it, you didn't perform as expected. What next in your party? What kind of plans do you have to ensure that come 2026 at least, probably you either win or perform better than you have performed currently?
As a party, we have always planned to see that we do better. Okay, we have always planned because we have always won elections, and this time around, actually, we were not prepared to go into an election. Really? Yes.
So that explains the results.
As a party, we were not prepared to go into an election. We were prepared to see how we can continuously mobilize the masses to see how we can have change through the civil disobedience.
Okay. So that is your plan continuously?
Continuously, we are making sure that the country must change.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Ojubile Augustine, and that is the view from the FDC. As UBC, we have a platform for everyone. After the declaration, yesterday we were talking to candidate Mayambala, we have talked to the NRM, we were talking to the NUP group, their representative was here with my brother Jethro, and this is the FDC gentleman who says they are still in the political business of this country and they will keep on pushing for their aspirations. We thank you so much for watching. My name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa. I was here with my brother Jethro Kasaiji. He's so much on Star TV, but as well on the UBC Luganda desk. But with him is how we have been pushing this broadcast live to your houses. And we thank you so much for watching. Keep it UBC TV. That brings us to the end of the production of the Tally Center here. But in as far as I hear, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission has an address to ask the members of the press. That means to the public. So we are going to give this live to you. Just keep it UBC TV.
Well, thank you so much there, Jordan Lukoma, live from the National Tally Center, where we have had from the Electoral Commission. Welcome back to the Election Hub. Now, religious people refer to their faith from what they call the Bible. The Bible has Genesis to Revelation, 66 books. As if that was not enough, there was Kings. In the Bible, we do have first king, we do have second kings. Of course, the first king then was the incumbent Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and he was doing quite a good job in his campaign trail. The second king that has been referred to in this whole electoral Bible is Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, honorable there, who has been a flag bearer for the National Unity Platform. Now, interesting to note, not only was he the second king in making, but also in the entire process, he's been a kingmaker to some people that now we will be seeing representing Ugandans in the next parliament. As if that was not enough, this particular elections Bible has been marred by some riots, which we get to see Ugandans lamenting about. On the 18th of November 2020, we had riots that went on for 2 days, majorly in Kampala, the outskirts of Kampala, and then other parts of Uganda got to pick up on it. At the end of the day, we got to lose brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties, and relatives, as well as our fellow bloodsmen, which was absurd. To this day, the country is still bleeding from those 2 days. We will never forget about it. But the Bible does continue. It also brought about the New Testament. In the New Testament, we saw new people appearing as presidential candidates for the first time in the year 2021. We had two generals, Mugisha Muntu to Mukunde Henry. We also had independents, the highest number that we have ever seen in an election since 1996, the likes of Willie Mayambala. We had the famous Katumba Oye John, Nancy Kalembe representing the ladies there. We had two pastors, Fred Mwesije, we also had Joseph Kableta, and the list went on. So it's really been a very interesting Bible to read, to watch, and to be a part of as Ugandans. Now we get to close it up with the book of Revelations. The Electoral Commission has revealed to the entire Uganda by the Justice Simon Byabakama, stating that the new and elect president is now Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, Tibu Habura for the National Resistance Movement. Congratulations to you, Uganda. Indeed, you have secured your future. Now, bringing this revelation to a roundup from the Election Hub, this is UBC. My name is Naloga Priscilla, and joining me up as we round up three gentlemen that have been a part of this procedure from the beginning till where we are right now. On my right, I do have Monday Akol Amazima. Good evening to you, Monday.
Good evening to you. It's a pleasure joining you.
May I say congratulations?
Well, as I say to Ugandans, we must say yes, because we've gone through this exercise very peaceful, and I must say that mine was a secret vote.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
But I'm sure it went to the right person.
To Manda's right, I do have James Mututa. Good evening to you, James.
Yes, good evening.
I trust that the smartness is going to be reflected in the analysis of what we're going to look at as we are closing up the election hub and the election process that has been.
Yeah, my guess too. More so after we've just concluded the elections, we are now free, and I think with the new leadership in power and with the new government, and with the new everything, for Uganda at least, I can say to Ugandans, congratulations.
Jagana Semakula Ziksoka, you have covered elections that have been in this year from Burundi, Ghana and Tanzania, among other African countries that have held elections in the year 2020 into 2021. We now finally have our own elections done and dusted for the year 2021. We want to start by looking at a reflection and an assessment into the entire election process. How has it been from each one of you?
Starting with me?
Starting with you.
Well, thank you so much, Priscilla Nali, and of course, good evening to all Ugandans out there. You didn't congratulate me because I was here from when it began to actually when it ended. We've had marathons of work all through and through, and well, I should congratulate myself that we've actually had to have this stamina standing up this time. We did make a promise to Ugandans that we will deliver. We'll be with them up this particular moment for which you've actually done. Secondly, you kept quoting the Bible here and there and taking me through that, but I also now want to say one, according to the book of Ecclesiastes 3, the Bible says to everything there is got a time. There's a time for everything. Now there was a time to campaign, there was a time to do all these things, and now there is another time. So I will speak like my very good president, Dr. John Joseph Pombe Magufuli. There's a time to campaign and there's also time to work. Now we need to again start thinking, because the campaigns have gone. If you are expecting to go onto the campaign trail with a candidate to give you some little monies, to jump on the track, to make noise, do all the things, ride a boda and do all the things, that has now ended. There is not a single candidate that you're going to call now to actually ask them and say, I need to go and meet people here, so I need some facilitation. That's gone. When you call them, you're either congratulating them or you're telling them, sorry, it didn't go right, it didn't go good.
Plan for the next 5 years.
Yes, plan for the next 5 years. So there's got to be a time for everything, and that has been a time. By and large, I think Justice Byabakama is now one of the people that need to be consulted on elections management. You talked about us looking at the other elections across the continent. We promised that we'll still talk about the elections in our subsequent programs here on UBC TV, because after the Ugandan election, it doesn't stop here. There are other elections. Uganda is very unique in a way that we organize these elections, many elections in one, which many countries actually can't handle. So we have that unique case and that extra mileage that we have. But like I said, when I saw Justice Byabakama, if you want to do the comparisons, in our history, if you go back to, I think, 1980, which of course was a different regime and administration, you'll notice that there was a man called Yosia Kikira, who not so many people know. He was outshined by his secretary, Sekono. Many people think that election was organized by Sekono. But coming all through to the times of Stephen Akabwai, coming to Aziz Kasuja, through to Engineer Badru Chigundu, and now to Justice Byabakama, when I looked at Justice Byabakama and how he was actually doing his things, even when he was being lambasted here and there, I knew that him being a legal brain, he was actually doing all the things, well knowing that should anybody rise up against me to take me to court or anything, he was trying to see how to manage the process and safeguard himself legally. So I will say that by and large, from the Byabakama when we're starting this process to where it has actually ended, I will say congratulations to Justice Byabakama.
All right, James, in your take, you have seen how the journey has been, the Electoral Commission, with all its processes that it has had to take Ugandans through to be able to achieve what we have achieved as of this evening. What is your assessment?
It has been, and he put it himself, the chairman of the commission, it has been with challenges also, like other commissions that had come before him. But specifically for this one, I think the orderliness with which they have handled this exercise has been exceptional, because in the past we have had uncoordinated moves right from the polling stations. Although this issue of the machines but it was the cases were isolated. It was not like widespread across the country. Other than that, the delivery of material, much as we heard that some places were delivered late, but they are talking about 10 to 11. That is when they were delivered late. In the past, we have had materials being delivered even in the evening. After
even past election time.
Exactly, after the exercise has ended. So this has been a lot orderly, but also systematic. We have had transmission very okay, much as in some places, of course, we are dealing with very remote areas of the hills and the islands, but all the information was delivered on time. At least the candidates are not complaining.
With the exceptions of the ballot papers that were stolen.
Even the stolen cases, I think those are also exceptional cases, because we have heard of at least 2 instances where ballot 3 where boxes were stolen, and of course that is a whole
which are indeed very regrettable instance, but they're bad to any democracy, and especially if they're done by the people that you don't expect them to do that.
Exactly.
So we think, we just have to condemn them. We just have to condemn them and not condone them for whatsoever reason.
Yeah, because for if you are a winner, you are a winner. If you are a loser, you are a loser. And we were discussing it earlier today that by the mere fact that a person, President Museveni today, has been declared a winner, it means there is a loser. So when you get that limelight, no, there is going to be a time when you also be the other side. So you can't win all the time, much as you can't lose all the time. So when you win, fine, but prepare one time that you also lose.
Monday, a call. There's been a statement that has been resounding from the beginning to the very end where we are right now. Free and fair elections.
Well, I think from 14th up to today, we've actually seen free and fair elections in a sense that people voted freely, and actually the whole exercise looked to be very, very fair. They had anticipated that there would be violence, and I think we must congratulate the Command-in-Chief and the security apparatus that they have exhibited much higher ability on keeping the country together, because you see, since 1986 the President Yoweri Museveni has shown that really he has the capacity to hold this country together. You see, in the past such an exercise was enough to put the whole government in disarray. But you see, he has exhibited that capacity that he can bring us together. But I must also say that Uganda becomes the first country in 2021 to hold a general election. And Justice Byabakama and his team, they have actually made us proud as a country. I think now, every other time they are quoting a successful electoral process, actually Uganda, the 2021 elections will be such a good example. Then maybe I just wanted to say something about the gentleman from FDC, whom Jordan was actually interviewing earlier, who did say that they don't actually believe and they don't really recognize, or they don't trust in what has come out. And they were saying that FDC has more than 30 members of parliament, and they're saying that everywhere they won a member of parliament, their candidate won. But I just want to give them a very good example is Kira municipality. Kira municipality, Honorable Semujunganda went through. But in Kira municipality, it is Bobi Wine who won at the presidential level. When you go to Kasese, where it was a mixed fortune, NRM got 3 members of parliament and FDC got 3 members of parliament. The vote was divided between NRM and NUP. So I also
which is much different from what happened in 2016.
Yes. So I just wanted to that when some people are really, when you're given a chance to speak, they should speak with evidence. Because then you say that Amriat one in all the constituencies where they've got the members of parliament. I think really that's not right.
Yeah, but I think I'd also just say something about the interviews that Jordan just conducted there about the FDC guy and maybe the NUP representative Roanyaga, who also said yes, him he actually disputes the results because one of the things that could have shocked him was when Byabakama said that this is a national constituency. To him, actually, that surprised him. But you see, a national constituency is not a national polling station. The constituency, for example, when they were declaring Malende at Kololo, they didn't say she got so much at Radio Uganda Village, she got so much at Civic Village, she got so much from Nakasero Primary School. You don't get into those details. Now, anybody who wants to challenge Malende's victory, then they need to go to court. And when they go to court, they produce all these evidences and say, let's look at the DR forms and see what came from Radio Uganda Village, what came from Civic Village, what came from Nakasero, what came from this place. So the NUP young man, of course, needs to know that Chagulanyi was not contesting for Chadondo East, but he was contesting for a constituency called Uganda. Now, if it's a national one, there is no, because even at the district level, if you are a woman contesting for district level, you don't determine to actually say, I need my votes by tally to start from the villages before it comes to trading centers. So it just works on like that. But I think it's okay. What I can only advise is we chose to go this way. The Constitution, which is very clear that everybody keeps quoting here and there, is all power belongs to the people, Article 1 of the Constitution. Now, when you quote Article 1 of the Constitution and all the other subsequent articles of the Constitution, then you also need to allow and quote all the subsequent articles in there. Article 104 of the Constitution gives the second plan. Plan B is actually Article 104. 104 says this is how you can challenge an election. So I think if you say we are supposed to win, and I think the FDC person gave Jordan a very vague answer that because Jordan asked him, did you win? And he said, Ugandans, you know, the win is supposed to be for Ugandans. Now when you talk about Ugandans and you have Museveni in Uganda, you have Benarem in Uganda, then just be frank and say FDC or Amria Toboy has lost or won. You know, that's what you need to go to. But if you say, well, we're disputing this, then
you do understand where they're coming from. Digesting a loss is not easy. So when especially when it's still fresh news. But we also want to look at the Electoral Commission, its assessment in terms of the fact that this election, it has had a new chairman who has been Justice Simon Byabakama conducting this election, a new commissioner, and then amidst all of that, with already existing challenges that the Electoral Commission has been experiencing from past elections, on top of it we had the pandemic hitting the country from the entire 2020, upon which the Electoral Commission had to still conduct the process. Can we look at the assessment of the Electoral Commission? How did they perform? Let's start with you, Monday.
Yeah, if actually by the time, you know, when the elections began, and of course we see especially the registration of candidates and then the nomination of candidates in the campaigns, it was actually at a time when really the pandemic was with us seriously, because an election does not begin with the registration of candidates and the campaigns. It actually begins with the laws and then updating the voters register. But you see, midway there was a report actually ran in one of the media houses, showing that 41% of the people did not have faith in the Byabakama Commission, and indeed they had valid reasons, because one of the reasons they were saying, they were looking at these are new players. You see, you have the likes of Ruakojo out, you have the likes of Tarema out, and I mean, ideally everybody was okay, and
they moved up their experience.
Yes, so they were like, now I think this is a new team, and it's coming to handle a very, very sensitive, and now even they have a pandemic amidst them. Then of course you see they came up with guidelines, but we see there was also a problem with some of the candidates not actually adhering to the SOPs that forced police once in a while actually to come and try to force them to observe the SOPs. But what happened from 14 actually to today, I believe if they are to do another survey it will now
give you a different picture,
give you a different picture,
and probably improve that percentage.
Not definitely. I believe now they will say that 70+% of Ugandans have faith in what Byabakama actually has been doing, and that is what we really need. That an electoral body, you must act in such a way that people must believe in it, and once they believe in it, it means that they will also believe in what is coming out from it.
James Mututa, this electoral commission, you have been a part of different elections. What do you believe has been done differently by this particular electoral commission in conducting these elections?
Well, first of all, like I noted, the electoral commission started
and please look at both positives and the ones that have actually ended up biting them.
Yeah, it started on a very shaky note because it inherited the issues that the other previous electoral commissions had, because I mean they had the same stuff, the same everything more or less, except the commissions that were appointed. But I think what they have done has more or less exonerated them, cutting the history that was known for the electoral commission of having no names missing on the register, having names found in other places than where people have registered, having names, some materials packed for Kampala, you find it in Kasese. So all those problems have been there, but I think this has changed. And for me, like colleagues have said, if you voted for them today, they would have more than if you did so maybe soon when they were appointed. But also I think what has been some of the problems that a few things linger with them that they also need now to outgrow. Issues of delayed deliveries, logistical problems. But again, of course, when you are talking about logistical problems, maybe they are not the ones in control, but they need to own the process ahead of time. Like last time we were discussing, like if you are going to have these biometric machines used in an election, why can't you deliver them a day earlier so that they do the dry runs? Yes, so that by tomorrow you know what you are, how people are going to vote. So that rehearsal will help you to be more effective. Instead of starting in the morning, you found that there are places where people started even beyond midday, and that was, to me, a concern that there was a problem with preparedness there. But again,
preparedness versus time management.
Exactly, and you know, when you are voting, you have to finish that exercise in that time. But also something which I witnessed, unless colleagues saw that happen, in the past we have had people, when it clocks to 4 in the evening, you find still a line of people in the queue. In the past, that queue has been used to rig elections at night, because the line will continue growing, and it is clear that once people are in the line, you will have to allow them vote. We have had cases in the past where people have voted up to midnight, but they're still voting because the line was there anyway. This time, such cases have not been there, but also in the past, we've also had cases where one goes to a polling station and is told, for us, we finished already voting. And yours may be taken care of. Maybe they were there, but not as rampant as has been in the past. So I think the Commission has now taken control of the exercise, that they are able to do what is expected of them by Ugandans. There could have been a few issues, errors here and there, but these are within the manageable margin, and I guess in the future it's going to be possible to correct all that. But you also realize that in the past, I think the Commission, maybe because of the fewer numbers of candidates, there were, I could say...
James Mututa, I would ask that we pause on this conversation. We have to go to Chambogo live for another press conference coming in from Justice Simon Byabakama as he addresses the nation.
Lord Chair, those are the questions we have from members of the press. I invite you to respond to them.
Thank
Thank you very much, members of the press. Now, we did not receive any orders from above during these elections, neither were we intimidated or threatened, although we know that some candidates were fond of engaging in a rhetoric that was aimed at the commission that one would interpret to be intimidatory. But as a commission, we never felt intimidated. We recognized that in an election where the stakes are so high, the candidates might be tempted to say certain words or to make certain utterances in the heat of the moment in order to try and drive their point home. But in spite of all that, we never felt intimidated at all. We remained steadfast in ensuring that we carry out our duties and our tasks as required by the law, and in order to meet the expectations of the people of Uganda, in putting in place systems and preparations that will enable them to exercise their constitutional right and come to elect leaders of their choice. Now, my difference, I don't know whether, I don't want to talk of differences between me and Engineer Kigundu, because he served in the commission whose main activities are governed by the law, and the same law that he followed in carrying out his duties, or the same laws are the same that my commission has also followed and continues to follow. So I don't see any difference between this commission and the commission led by Dr. Kigundu. We are all following the law as spelled out in the statute books. Now, on the issue of observance of SOPs, ladies and gentlemen, you should recognize that issues of observance are primarily the responsibility of an individual or individuals. And when measures are put in place, what will make those measures meaningful is when the people choose to comply and observe them. So in a similar vein, yes, I could see on the screens long lines of voters standing packed together. But I was made to understand when I inquired that some of the people did not want to hear of social distancing. They were just brushing off any attempts to tell them to social distance. And, you know, at such a time, as I said, voting is a bit emotive for some people. The voter wants to cast his or her vote rather, and ensure his or her candidate wins. So in that regard, therefore, the officials we had employed to enforce these SOPs appeared to have been overwhelmed by the reactions of the voters. But we still have more elections, and we have learned the lessons from the elections of 14th, and I think my commission is going to ensure that we continue, one, to sensitize the people, two, to make the enforcement processes and mechanisms more visible and more stringent, because COVID is still in our midst. We cannot just take it for granted. COVID is still in our midst, we cannot take it for granted, and therefore it behoves all of us that we should at all material times ensure that we observe those SOPs. And as I said last time, there is water in every part of this country. So you cannot say that this cannot be enforced because of difficulty in getting water. But lack of discipline on the part of each one of us as individuals and also collectively is what is defeating the fight against the spread of COVID-19. So if we all Ugandans can be mindful of the potential dangers of the spread of the virus, I believe then observance need not be rammed down our throats. We should just simply embrace the measures. It is for our own good and the good of those around us and those people whom we are going to interact with, either in our homes or in our workplaces. Now, on what are the tenets of a free and fair election? You see, the phrase or the terminology, a free and fair election, is not defined in any law. But the courts have said that a free and fair election is a process that embraces all the nascent activities or the pertinent activities that are required in an election. There should be a voters register, the process of enabling or allowing people who want to register as voters to do so. There should be a process of people knowing the electoral area. If you're a candidate, one should know the boundaries or the demarcations of the electoral area where that person wants to contest, either constituency, either sub-county, either parish, and so on. The people should know. And one of the other tenets of a free and fair election, it must be an inclusive process. The process must involve the voters, the other stakeholders, the candidates, and so on and so forth. There should be a process of compiling an ascertainable, definite voters register. The voters register must be definite, it must be known, it must be ascertainable. In other words, the number of registered voters must be known not only to the Electoral Commission officials and staff, but to the entire country. The people must know who are the registered voters, how many registered voters do we have. Another tenet of a free and fair election is the process of campaigns, where the candidates are enabled to campaign. I know that in this particular election, the mode of campaigns were rather restricted owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, in that instead of having the usual open mass campaign rallies, these were restricted to regulated numbers and also to media platforms. And all this was on account of trying to fight the pandemic. And even the Constitution recognizes that in an effort to prevent the spread of a contagious disease, certain liberties can be suspended. The Constitution recognizes that. And therefore, in that context, the Electoral Commission, on being guided by the Minister of Health, on the potential dangers of the spread of the pandemic in an electoral environment, we opted to restrict the mode of campaigns to those mediums. However, campaigns were not absolutely prohibited or banned. It was only certain mediums, certain modalities of campaigns that were prohibited, but the rest, the candidates were at liberty to use those mediums of campaign. Now, the other tenet, of course, is that all the activities must be the timelines for all the activities must be known by everyone. They must be known by everyone. And that's why we launched the roadmap in 2018 to inform the people of Uganda well in advance. And we, in the roadmap, we laid out the various timelines for each particular activity that is crucial to the holding of a free and fair election. And then also, another tenet is that the voters must know where they are going to vote from. The voters must be informed of the areas they are supposed to vote from, or what we call the polling stations. And all this information was shared with the voters must be sensitized. They must be sensitized about the do's and don'ts of participation in an election, what we call voter education. And all these activities were undertaken. And then, of course, the Electoral Commission must put in place a mechanism that ensures that the voters come out of their homes in a secure environment, without fear, without intimidation, and they go to cast their vote. And that's why in this particular election, over 10 million Ugandans came out to cast their votes. And that's why the role of security became very pertinent in ensuring that the voters, the citizens of this country who are registered voters, come out in peace, come out freely without any fear, and they go to the polling station and cast their votes. On the issue of statistics, that whereas we say there are 18 million voters and slightly over 10 million have come out to cast their vote, you know, polling is absolutely voluntary and discretional. Polling, voting is absolutely voluntary. It's not coercive. It's not mandatory that you must leave your home and go to cast your vote. So if a number of citizens decide not to go out and vote, it's their right. And by the way, you should also remember that even some people who are on duty for this exercise, the electoral exercise, have not voted, because we could not go to vote from our respective areas where we registered. So members of security services who were on duty, who were deployed here and there, members of the Electoral Commission who were also on duty, that is also a chunk. Or when you go to the voters register, you, for example, I'm a registered voter, but I did not vote. They did not vote. So, you see, these are the things that we are pointing out. There are various reasons as to why the numbers, although the numbers are big in the voters register, but when it comes to the actual turnout, you find that the numbers are low. So that does not imply that the register is questionable or that the numbers are not authentic. It does not mean that. It's a question of the exercise of one's free choice. I'm sure if you went and carried out some kind of census or poll, whatever you call it, or inquiry, you'll find many people who were within their homes and within distance of their polling stations but did not go to vote. This is their constitutional right. It's their right. You go to vote or you don't go to vote. So I want to assure you that this register went through so many processes to ascertain its authenticity, to ascertain its correctness, and therefore the turn-up of the fact that so many voters have not turned up to vote does not in any way imply that the register is not authentic. No. Yeah, there are even those who are sick and so on and so forth. So many factors. There are so many factors why many people did not, the big number of people did not turn up to vote. Now, the other question was what percentage, if I don't know whether I still have the, it was 90, was it almost 97%? I don't have the figures with me here. 97, we declared the results of 96 point something percent of the polling stations. Now, Patrick, you know, you reminded me of someone who was who visited the home. You know, some of us in those days, in some African homes, especially Ugandan homes, if you were a visitor, one of the things they would make sure to recognize that you're an important visitor is slaughter you a chicken for a meal. Or slaughter a chicken for a meal. Then this visitor comes, they serve him the chicken, and then he starts saying, hey, how big was this chicken? Eh? Where did you look after it? What were you feeding it? Eh? Now, they have given you food to eat. Now you are trying to find out where it came from, how it grew up, what it was fed on. We said we would transmit the results here to the National Tally Center. And they have been transmitted. We have been informing the people, the Ugandan people, that this is what we have received so far. This is what we have received so far. And these results we indicated are from the respective polling stations across the country, generate through the district returning officers and here. But now Patrick is saying, tell us, how did they come? Where did you pass? What did you do? Now, it's like the other person who asks, how does the chicken grow? How big was it before you slaughtered it? So please, take it that we were able to transmit the results to this tally center. And if you want to confirm, as I said earlier on, let each candidate have his declaration of results form and compare with what we have transmitted here. In the short time, in due course, rather, we are going to publish all the results per the district to show the people of Uganda what each candidate scored. So, but I want to assure you that you don't have to worry how we were able to do it in spite of the internet shutdown. We also devised our own means to make sure that we have the results transmitted. And whatever was transmitted here was not fake. Because I heard one of the candidates, I think, saying that the Electoral Commission, the results they are releasing are not, they are releasing results minus my strongholds. The strong areas were expected a big harvest of votes. They are leaving them out. No, that's not true. We have those results. And even those strongholds that candidate was talking about were included. And in fact, they show he performed well. He performed well. So if he wants, he can come to the commission. We shall give him the detailed breakdown of those results as scored. So to us, I think we have achieved, we have complied with the constitutional requirement and the law of ensuring that we declare the results within 48 hours. And that is it. How tamper-proof were they? They were not tampered with, don't worry. If that's, you also asked the question of tampering. We made sure we put in place mechanisms to ensure they are not, the process of transmission is not disrupted or tampered with or hacked into. We made sure of that. Okay, more than 7 million people. I think I've already answered the question on why more than 7 million people have not voted. As I say, it is a right, it is a discretion, it is a voluntary right for you, it's a voluntary matter whether you should go and vote. And many of us have not voted because of being on duty and so many other factors.
Well, welcome back from Chambogo National Tallying Center. We've heard from Justice Simon Byabakama addressing journalists on some of the questions that they've been asking themselves as far as this electoral process has been concerned. And from the election hub here on UBC, we are still also asking ourselves some of these questions, and myself as well as this gentleman with me joining me this evening, we are finding answers to these questions. We are also analyzing what has been. One of the things that I highlighted has been the scientific campaign that has been. First of all, the fact that we had COVID-19, we must have had a scientific campaign. It was marred by the fact that right from the candidates, while they were going on with their campaigns, they had to observe SOPs. They had to be able to conduct themselves in a manner that was, recognizably acceptable by the Ministry of Health and also Electoral Commission. Now, initially, Electoral Commission had decided that maybe they would have, just a meeting of 70 people so that they can be able to send out their message to those 70, and then the 70 would go ahead to do the mathematics and transmit their message to the rest of Uganda. However, as the journey began, Electoral Commission did come to a resolution and upgraded that number to 200 persons that a candidate could actually approach at a go in consideration of COVID-19 and maintenance of SOPs. Now, I would like us to start from there, looking and reflecting at the different campaign trails for the 11 candidates that traversed 146 districts of Uganda. Maintenance and compliance of SOPs as far as their journey was concerned, and how that turned out for them in terms of police having to stop them ever so and again, reason being you're not observing SOPs.
You want to pick it from me? Well, first and foremost, I do not think there is anybody who actually managed to traverse the 146 district of Uganda.
That is true.
This time round. The last election of 2016, President Museveni managed to do up to about, I think, 520 rallies across. And the second to do more was Dr. Kiza Besje, who I think did somewhere about 230 rallies. Then the rest, of course, the average was 8 rallies, because going around the country to actually do rallies is not a very simple thing. Now, when you come to this particular election that has also had issues of COVID-19, you notice that President Museveni, as opposed to what he did in 2016, this time round he went to regions, and of course he could sit somewhere, find people, his leaders from the party, call them, meet them, and he couldn't do the way he used to do previously, because previously he could do 4 to 5 rallies on a single day, but you could now notice that he goes to a district like Tororo, where he meets
the delegates from
delegates
NRM.
Leaders.
Yes.
Then he goes back to Mbale.
Yes.
Then he comes back the following day and does it, and he's
does
done
a press
with
conference
that.
in the evening for that community.
Then he does a press conference in the evening. They have to sing. The only person who has enjoyed moving around and doing rallies this particular time round has been Robert Chagulanyi, who actually defied many of these and said I should do the rallies. People need to see me. People need to go out with me and stuff like that. So Bobby Wine managed to do it. And to me, I think, yes, congratulations to the Honorable Bobby Wine for having polled 3.4 million votes. Well, he's fallen slightly short of Dr. Kiza Besje,
which was 3.5 million.
3.5, yes, and 35. So with a very small margin, but yet again, he didn't get there. The bar for the opposition is actually set to Dr. Kiza Besje. So whoever hits above 35 and about 35% threshold, or
will change the norm.
Exactly.
And statistics.
Will have changed the role. But you'll notice that Bobby Wine was doing about moving to about 3-4 districts, mainly 3 districts a day, and you also need to assess the effectiveness of that, because a district is a very big thing. In Uganda, they look small when you look at them on the map, but just saying, I am actually going to do a rally in a district, then go to another district, then go to another district. Now, one very striking feature here is districts in Uganda, from one district to another, the distance, road distance in terms of kilometers or miles is actually not very far. You can't move from Jinja to maybe Mbale, and you go through about 7, 8, or 9 districts, so you can drive through them. So when you look at the impact of the rallies that Bobby Wine did, because they were mainly in towns, or on main streets, on highways, in city centers, just like that. So he had an opportunity to actually do more than all the others did. So because the system wasn't favoring that, the times weren't favoring that, and I think that's what it is. You talk about assessing Byabakama. Byabakama has just been very clever and very, he's just been very, he made
clever
sure that
in terms of abiding by the law or leading
he made
towards
sure that the law is exactly on his side in each and everything that he did. He's just been responding to a few things here. Talk about the tenets of a free and fair election. Now, there's no actually definite definition of what a free and fair election is, except the benchmarks that they put and say, for a free and fair election, this is what needs to be done. You'll notice that this time round, I have not, or you've not, heard about a person who actually says, I went to a polling station and either my name was not there or the people that I was supposed to vote for there were different people that I knew nothing about. You didn't get many of these. There's an isolated case.
You didn't get many of them, but they were there.
No, but there's just an isolated case in Mwenge. And you know, when you talk about 34,000, now remember, Byabakama has had, first of all, the biggest register at 18 million. Byabakama has had more constituencies than all the others. Byabakama has got more contenders than all the others. Byabakama had more polling stations than all the others. So everything during Byabakama's time has actually been more. Okay. Byabakama has had more contenders, you know, for presidential, for example. We've never had an election with 11 contestants. Now, it is actually been Byabakama. And we're thinking, asking him, what about if the ballot had to have 20 people? How would it look like? And stuff like that. So there was an isolated case. And to me, just one polling station of the 64,668 polling stations, to just have a single isolated case in Mwenge, I think, to me, Byabakama has actually tried to manage it. Even with error, so. It's actually a margin of error. And these are human error.
Which constitutes fairness.
Yes, exactly. But the number of things that you talked about, the register itself, it was there. You know, the register was there. Byabakama ensured that the polling areas, the gazetted polling areas. Last time, I think we even had issues where ballots that were supposed to be in Kasese found their way in Kapchorwa. Now, that alone is not even imaginable. But if you go to a polling station and that is where you're supposed to vote, these are the people that you're supposed to vote from, to me, I think, even with COVID-19, Byabakama has tried to, but do his best.
Okay. All right. James Mututa, I would like you to address the whole fact that they also had voter education. They had to sensitize and emphasize 1, 2, 3 things through this whole electoral process. What is your assessment in terms of performance for Electoral Commission in ensuring that every Ugandan is aware and is also abiding by the electoral process as it started up to where we are today in regards to sending out information? Of course, we saw the slips coming in towards the end, an exercise that would have come in earlier to save time and things like that.
There were issues definitely when it came to public awareness, the voter education. We agree. I personally know that I think the Electoral Commission, because we given the other previous electoral commissions, this time the Electoral Commission voter education was not to that mark, or talking of the set marks, it was not to that mark. But we have also been discussing this thing. An Electoral Commission is responsible for voter education, fine, and also responsible for the free and fair elections, fine. But the mobilization of the voters is entirely in the hands of the political parties, of the participants, of the candidates, because you should be the one to take interest. In fact, I would want to see a political party going to the Electoral Commission saying, give us the training materials for the voter education, so that we can give to our people, because you are mobilizing people to come and vote for you. The Electoral Commission is giving general information about what to do, how you do it, but specifics. But I saw them at the end struggling, what is my candidate number? So, but this thing should be done ahead, so that the political parties should have interest in educating people, because this is a continuous exercise. You don't have to wait until 5 years later on, then you begin telling people what to do. Partnership between the political parties and the Electoral Commission should start now, so that even when you come to the tense period of final elections, you don't look at each other as enemies, but rather because you have had built that rapport. So for me, it is the responsibility of the respective political parties and the political actors to ensure that voter education is passed on to the public.
Monday, a call. James Mututa has spoken about partnership between parties and the Electoral Commission going forward. But just a reflection still on the election that has been. He has mentioned something very key and something to note. Mobilization and sensitization being taken into the hands of the parties onto the people that they're trying to sell their agendas and manifestos in the entire process. I believe that there's some parties that have performed in this area, some have not. Can you highlight for us the parties that you think could have used this strategy, how it has effectively turned out in terms of the results that we're looking at right now, and the ones that did not apply this kind of syndicate or abilities, what was their fate, how it turned out to actually interpret into their fate today?
Maybe before I can get to that, let me add something on voter education. Yeah, I think voter education, even Right Honorable Kasule Lumumba had talked about it. It is ideally, it is not entirely responsibility of the Electoral Commission, because of the Human Rights Commission actually is supposed also to carry out civic education, which includes voter education. But also, I must say that it is, the media, for example, UBC has actually also participated in voter education. NGO, the civil society, has done that. But I must say that, you know, they say understanding is not compulsory. It is not compulsory. even when you carry out whatever amount of education you're going to give out there, you still find invalid votes, you still find it. And also, Justice Vyabakama has also brought it out clearly that voting is not compulsory, it is voluntary. So it depends on how you wake up that morning when you're going to vote. Now, getting back to your question, yes, parties that have invested heavily on educating their voters have actually also harvested heavily. It has been shown, because ideally you find that if the social media, it was actually a competition between NRM and NUP. There was nothing, you could not see FDC, or maybe if FDC was not so much, but you could not find DP, you could not find ANT, you could not find, you see. So ideally, see that it was ANUP versus NRM, and indeed that's what has come out. So in everywhere, I just want to say that we in other parts of the continent where they've had elections, you would see presidential candidates actually tweeting every other time, posting on their Facebook page, go and do this, there is this. So I think also here you saw President Yoweri Museveni was very active. Honorable Robert Chagulanyi was also very, very active. His NUP brigade and the NRM brigade were all very, very active, and this has actually been reflected on the results they've got.
Okay, Jagana Semakula, how about we talk about the role that media has played in this whole journey? Traditional media and also social media.
Well, I think the media has done its best. They've done their bit to do what they can do. And of course, remember, it was just reminding and telling the people. But it just shouldn't be only the media bit of it, because, yes, I know, to emphasize what Akwala said, social media or the new media has actually now taken over the traditional media, and like you said, these political parties had that responsibility. But yet again, it was also misleading. For example, before the social media lockdown, there were people posting saying, and I think it was generated by either one of the camps, because this battle has been between NRM and NUP. And then somebody says, let's go and tick him 7, tick him 7, tick him 7. But whenever you tick him 7, make sure you cross out Bobby Wine. You know, tick him 7 and cancel Bobby Wine.
Which translates into the valid votes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Now you're dealing with a gullible society. You're dealing with a society that is too emotional over certain things and stuff like that. So whoever does that actually means bad. for both candidates. So these can also twist it and say, you go tick for Bobi Wine, tick for Bobi Wine, but when it comes to Museveni, cross him out for him to know, as though Museveni will actually know that I didn't give you, I really hate you, or Bobi Wine will know that I really I hate you. And so to me, I think the new media is good. The speed at which it rolls out is also very disastrous, because nobody can come to TV like here and say, this is how you vote. There is a box here, there is a symbol here, and there is a person here, and maybe the name. So make sure that you tick in this box, or you put your thumbprint in this box and leave the rest. Rather than just, nobody can say, tick here, then cross these others. Somebody cannot do it on TV. So I think the media has got a big role to play, especially when it comes to such processes. We become very active when these candidates have been rolled out.
The media has a big role to play in enhancing such activities, but also we have seen it, especially in these dying days of the electoral process, especially during the actual process, that the media also had the power to pour down on the process with, especially social media and people spreading false propaganda against each other, creating enmity, and also really just pushing for hatred in a season where we need more peace than hatred.
Yeah, but see, we've talked about that repeatedly. We need to be Ugandans. We need to be more Ugandan than Ugandan itself, but than Uganda itself, I think. These things happen everywhere and elsewhere. The election that just happened in Ghana recently, many people think it didn't have these skirmishes or these violent related issues. They were there, but to them, they are Ghana. And the image that they project out there matters to them more than anything. I was telling you of a story recently when one senior citizen traveled to Nairobi, and when he was returning at Jomo Kenyatta Airport, somebody, actually the immigration officer, called him when he saw his passport, and he's holding a diplomatic passport. He called him and just showed him some images on his personal phone and said, look at what is happening in Uganda. Look at these things. You're going to the polls, but remember, we have a stake in Uganda because we looked to you for this, we looked to you for integration. Now, a Ugandan senior citizen was being cancelled by a Kenyan at the immigration office in Kenya. And this is actually what it means. Now, when you are formulating, when you are fabricating, when you are doing all these things, when you are generating all these things to paint a bad image of Uganda or about Uganda, simply because it's only one individual, Robert Kyagulanyi, whom you do not love, or it's one individual, Museveni, whom you do not love, or it's just one individual, Muntu, whom you do not love, but you are putting out a bad image for the country. That people who see it in South Africa, in Tanzania, in Ghana, and elsewhere, that's why at such a moment like when we went to the polls, government just said it and said, let's manage our issues here. Let's revert to the old traditional way of communicating, the analog bit of it. Let's get there, because if we had social media, you would see people, you would now get messages of the declarations. There was one actually. There was one that somebody sent to me from the Netherlands, and I got one from the Netherlands.
What was the message from Netherlands saying?
I got a message from the Netherlands, and somebody was congratulating Bobi Wine and saying, history has been made in Uganda, finally. Wow. Bobi Wine has been elected 10th president. Now, if we did not have a lockdown on that, that message would be everywhere. Yeah. It should have circulated. And just reminding the people that this is generated somewhere in the Netherlands, would be, you only do that when there is a lot of damage.
Ndogo Jagenda, I think, maybe if I can come in there, I think, yes, President Yoweri Museveni has won as the president, actually, in this particular race. But I also think there is every reason actually to congratulate Honorable Bobi Wine.
Exactly.
Because being a newcomer in politics, hardly a term in parliament, he was actually hardly 3 years in parliament, then organizing an outfit that actually dislodges a 16-year-old party like FDC, and that at his first attempt, he can actually raise more than 50 members of parliament. So I think really, in one way or the other, he's a winner in his own way. And I think it was wishful thinking for him to imagine that as a new person with a new party, he would actually defeat a seasoned player like President Yoweri Museveni, a mass party. Like
and I think yes, also
that was daydreaming.
Yeah, but I think coming in on that, yes, we congratulate the Honorable Bobby Wine for the successes that he has exactly done. But you see, there is what they call emotional reasoning in psychology, why you leave no room for a loss. Now, Bobby Wine, in the heart of hearts, he could have known that, yes, I'm doing all these things, but I can't win. Because, you know, you can tell. Yes. When you're sitting an exam, to we who are students forever, when you're sitting an exam, you can actually write and just tell. My response, my interpretation of the question really tells I can't get an A or I won't get 100 in this paper. You can actually judge and tell. So Bobby Wine moved around the country and he could actually tell this support is either because they've seen me or because, and remember, there was also the hunger for people to hang out, do the things, because we had endured the lockdown for so many months. Now he could actually tell. So I'm very sure that in the heart of his heart, he knew what the result would be. But you see, the people that were supporting Bobby Wine, where it is now time for a new Uganda. I now do not know whether Segenya Mohammadi looks at this as a new Uganda or not, whether Joel Senyi now looks at this as a new Uganda or not, because you remember the song Tuli Yambale Ngule. Now I don't know whether they will put on Ngule or there will be no Ngule for them.
Have they not had wins?
But that's what I'm saying.
Yes, they've had wins. So for them, as individuals,
is New Uganda is the New Uganda having the New Uganda having now Noop take on the leadership of opposition in Parliament, or it can only be new when Bobby Wine goes to set house. Now these are the things that we need to provoke and the debate
so
that we
is
need to
it
get into.
new in terms of Bobby Wine, or is it new in terms of National Unity Platform?
That's where we need to get. That's where we need to get. Now, did the people vote for Bobby Wine or they voted for the National Unity Platform? And these are the issues that we're discussing Kizza Besigye, and the key, because you could look at a place where Museveni wins for the presidency and Museveni loses for members of parliament. And you know, somebody says they go and they say for president. Yesterday I was with Professor Bariamreba here, and Professor Bariamreba said some of the Noop candidates in Western Uganda, they were actually saying they could go out to look for the vote, but they could say, please, at the
vote from 7.
Vote from 7. But remember me. I'm in this constituency. But when it gets there, please. Now, you would imagine that these are actually promoting Bobby Wine's agenda or the Noop agenda. But they were only saying, vote from 70 for president. They didn't have the confidence in Bobby Wine himself. So, when it comes to the followers and supporters of Bobby Wine, they thought it must be a win for Bobby Wine and nothing else.
An outright win.
And an outright win. So this is exactly what Bobby Wine now needs to manage. Going forward, he needs to know how to manage to tell the people what really turned out, and many could actually not feel good that, because I remember when there was a press conference some time ago with Chairman Nyanzi, and Chairman Nyanzi said, we are looking to be the leader of opposition in parliament.
Which they have achieved.
Which they've actually achieved.
Exactly. Which then brings me to the interpretation that perhaps this National Unity Platform has been doing some sort of a mind game. By mind game, given that example that you've just shared, for Noop members that were appearing on the Noop card, on their campaign trail saying that, no, please, let's maintain the leadership to NRM and Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. However, please remember me, I want to represent you as woman MP or as MP in the next parliament. Couldn't that be a mind game that they were actually playing so that they get the majority in parliament and build from inside and grow from there? Perhaps then, if Kyagulanyi should appear on the next election, 2026, he would have a stronger standing.
But when you are doing that, it can be a strategy, but you also need to come smart. In the next few months, you are going to see these members who now honorable members have been elected go to parliament, and when they get to parliament, there's going to be the election of a leader of opposition. And thank God now Noop can on its own, without necessarily having to ally with the rest of the political parties,
can stand on its 2 feet.
And appoint a leader of opposition. But of course, I think the requirements that you need to consult with the other members of of the opposition, on a person who is going to be elected as a leader of opposition. Now, when you elect a leader of opposition, you have two centers of power. You have the leader of opposition as a leader of opposition in the parliament who is standing against the leader of government business or the chief whip of government. But also you have the person of the head of that leader, the head of that opposition party. We had cases in parliament here where you had Kiza in parliament, but there is another person outside by then that was Montu. So who is more powerful? Who takes decisions? The members of parliament, who should they pay allegiance to? Is it the leader of opposition or the head of the party? So these are some of the games that are going to start. Now, if that is not managed very well, there can even be a coup within that on who commands. Because one will say, I'm the one in the parliament who knows things which are happening there. Then one will say, but I'm the one who appointed you.
Exactly, because actually, I also see a problem that the Honorable Chakwang needs to manage going forward. Now, you'll notice that his brother, Chairman Nyanzi, has not come to parliament. Eddie Awe has not come to parliament.
But he has a sister who has gone through in Gomba.
Yeah, but you see, the sister is not as vocal as these others. And now, when you look, the greater vocal family of the Chagulanyi is actually not in parliament. Now, they've aided and supported or made way for Segirinya, Bashiri, Nabagabe, and all the others, Shamim Malende, and those things. Now, when it comes to, of course, they are now the leaders in opposition, they are the majority in opposition. Now you're going to look at figures in there. You have Matthias Mpuga, who is the second, I think, vice president of the party, chairperson of the party from that region, with experience, of course, in legislative matters. Now you have a seasoned legislator, Lubega Segona. Then you now bring in Dr. Bedi Wanika, who 3 times tried to be president of Uganda, and now he comes to parliament. Then you have an ambition. You remember when Bobby Wine had just started his movement and the party like that, it also produced a sole candidate. Now, when they had the sole candidate in the NUP, Nambeshe got between a rock and hard place, because he had actually run out of the NRM because he got all the sole candidature of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. So when he goes to NUP, there was also a sole candidate. He finds a sole candidate there. So they needed to sanitize the process. How did they do that? They went to some delegates conference somewhere. Then it was Nambeshe and I think Honorable Bachidri who went and said, we are contesting against Bobby Wine, but of course it was intended to pave way for Bobby Wine, because none of them would actually say, I am now the principal of the NRM, rather the NUP. So now you have a Nambeshe, the other side, with also experience in these issues. Nambeshe was chairman of the district, I think, 2 terms. He comes to parliament and becomes so vocal and vibrant. He goes back and he comes back again, and he's also there. Now you're going to look at all these issues. Then, of course, you also have a Numbers also. You have a Numbers, exactly, who has also been in parliament there. And you have another vibrant Senyon who has also come in, who has also been with the man back and forth here and there. So the next stage to manage is, like he's saying, who is going to do these things? Because these are some of the issues that even Dr. Kiza Besje had issues of problems with. Exactly. And you need to find, you're going to find a person who will match Professor Ogengala Tigo. You need to find a person who will match Nandala Mafari. You need to find a person who will actually match Wafula Ogutu. You need to get a person who will match.
So let me put you to task. Can we find this match right here with the members the members from NUP that are now into the next parliament? Who would be the best match, especially for leader of opposition?
But even more complicated to that, you're also going to have 2 groups. You know, NUP has brought in the new blood, but they're also the old tax, the Nambeshe group, and then also the new ones. Now, there must be that
coalition.
Exactly. Now, if it also fails, there will be one group against the other. But when you are looking, if I were the one looking for the leader of opposition, I think those first of all, I will use those people who have already been in parliament. In which case you are looking at Mbozes, the Nambeshes, the Mpugas, and the Medsegonas.
And Chagulanyi may surprise you that he doesn't want to go with the tradition.
James Mututa is still finishing the agenda.
But at the same time, to sanitize, to make NUP not to be a Uganda factor, then I also have to look at someone who is coming out of of the Buganda region.
You're resorting to numbers.
If I can come in here on Ndugija agenda. You know, I think really this time round I would do...
But a call, first wait. James has not yet finished the lineup that he has
I just
you see where he's going.
Not forget my point. Okay. Yes, I was saying that this time round I would actually be very comfortable to have a leader of opposition from Buganda. Why am I saying so? In 2006 when we went into a multi-party dispensation,
Professor
how does Professor Ogenga Latigo come in? Actually, people were in the popular opinion was in for the late Sam Njuba because he was the most senior.
Yeah.
He was actually somebody who had done much for Dr. Kiza Besigye. But I think Dr. Kiza Besigye was also very hesitant to anoint him, and therefore they went for a vote. But going for a vote, remember the majority of FDC MPs were from northern Uganda and they had to vote for their own. So that is how you find Ogenga Latigo, a newcomer, actually trouncing a seasoned, actually, a seasoned politician. Now, the leader of opposition, actually, crisis has always been in FDC. That even after, when Ogenga Latigo was leader of opposition, he served his 5 years. When he served his 5 years, I think that's when we saw the leader of opposition cast that he could not defend his seat. He lost. Then in the after 2011, who comes in? Nandala Mafabi. But when Nandala Mafabi comes in, midway, Muntu becomes the party president. And when Muntu becomes the party president, he sacks Nandala Mafabi. Although sacking Nandala Mafabi, then he... And why does he sack Nandala Mafabi? Because they had contested together. So he brings in Wafula Ogutu. But again, in the subsequent election, 2016, the leader of opposition catches up with Wafula Ogutu and he loses an election there. So again, still, Muntu was still the president of the party. He brings in Win Kiza as the leader of opposition. But midway, Muntu loses the presidency of the party to Amuriat. And
then the first thing Amuriat does,
so you can see there has always been that crisis, and I can see if NUP does not handle that, it is a very delicate matter, and it is actually, it may make them or break them in the parliament.
James Mututa, you are still giving us
I was saying that then it will be a compromise that you need to promote NUP beyond the Buganda area. That the person you are going to put in this position will be able to promote, to take you beyond where NUP, where the red wave has stopped, that you'll be able to move you further than that. But I would hesitantly think of appointing a Muganda leader of opposition, because then people will begin thinking like, is it, and since the majority of members are in Buganda, if you appointed one from outside that region, either from east or west or north, I think it will look more reasonable that the party is now, even in its infancy, is maturing in ideology.
No, but Mututa, I disagree with you on that, because if you look at the post of leader of opposition, it has rotated. First was somebody from the north, it went to the east, you see, again it went to the east, it went to the west, that is Winnie Kiza. It is now in the north, and you really find that Buganda has not. So this is their moment.
But you see,
first poll.
So I believe that really this is their moment, because ideally, if you have a party that has over 90% of the members of parliament from Buganda, then why do you get a lead of opposition from elsewhere?
Because you want to grow.
You see, every one of us is actually allowed to have their own opinion.
Very true, yes.
Which I think is okay. But you see, now this is the test of leadership that the Honorable Chagulanyi is going to get. Now, be very mindful that you have Honorable Chagulanyi, who is the principal of the party. He has not gone to State House, but he has had 57 members of parliament in the House. And so he's going to sit back in his Magale crib and start calling for the shots. He has a brother here who is equally very influential. You remember when they were doing the vetting processes and doing all the things, we were telling you it was actually Chairman Nyanzi who was deciding on and exactly who should do what and who should go where. And don't think that even when Chairman Nyanzi loses to come to Parliament, or fails to come to Parliament, his influence has actually died out in NUP. So remember that there will be a Bobby Wine who possibly wants something, but there's also Chairman Nyans who also may want something.
Yeah.
Now, what Mututu is talking about, yes, you may want to do those regional balances and actually say, because Northern has had, Northern now has, Eastern has, Western got some other time. But the issue of the contestants or the candidates you have, I've just presented them to you. That you have a Bwanika who tried 3 times to contest for the presidency. Now, a man who ran the country from Abim to Zombo alphabetically, looking for the vote for presidency, you can't say he can fail to become a leader of opposition.
But he has never been an MP. So
that's what we're saying.
So
but you see, that's the other challenge with Bobby Wine. He will take you for surprises. He may not want to tell you that, you know, this thing has to be done, because I don't think exactly the law that for you to become a leader of opposition, you ought to have been here before. Exactly. So these are issues that Bobby Wine will want to do. He may possibly want to tell you, but I have my son here. We've run around the country with him and all the things. He's vibrant, he can talk, he can do all the things.
Oh, my Segrinya.
You know, he can get you to those levels. He can say there is Malende. You know, she's some young, sober lawyer who can actually do these things. So Bobby Wine might actually surprise you. So this is actually what I'm saying. Don't say he's never been to Parliament. Because if I've gone through the country wanting to be president of Uganda, presented my manifesto and my manifesto and my manifesto, so you're giving a small job of being a leader of opposition. But you also have a Mpuga who has been there and is equally vibrant. You have a Segona, you have a Namboze. Now, these are all from the same region. You know, these are all there and they're presenting themselves. So it is really tough for Bobby Wine. And this is when we're going to test his leadership, and this is when we're going to test him as a leader to actually see how it plays out and how it works. But then again, remember that you are the FDC, which of course has brought in still their own
more or less the number of views.
And you still have the likes of Semiju Nganda in there, Chief Whip, very vibrant. And by all standards, actually, to me, if you're looking for a leader of opposition from this area, I think it would be Semiju Nganda.
But the party is
exactly that's what I'm saying.
But again, when you look at figures, if you put opposition together, including UPC, FDC, now NUP and JEMA,
and PPP,
you find that
and ANT.
This will have, I think, equally bigger number, maybe even bigger than NUP. Because
exactly, if you put them together.
Yes.
Yeah, FDC at 37.
Yes.
FDC at 37, UPC has 10, that's 47. DP has 8, that's 56. Then JEMA has 157, PPP has 158. Those are they. They're actually 58. They're actually same. Actually, even the opposition itself, if they decided to go different ways. Now remember, NUP has 3 other independent leaning, NUP, but UPC has also 3.
If this also has,
and ANT has 3. They have 1 ANT, but 3 ANT.
But let's get back to the law. Let's get back to the law because the law says the party that has majority.
That's what we say.
So the party that the party that has the opposition party that has majority MPs shall form the official opposition. And the official opposition produces the leader of opposition.
If I may ask, so what is the threat of the leaning MPs that you're talking about?
What is that?
What is the threat of the leaning MPs that they're under NUP but they're leaning towards
No, there are 3 who came and they're independent because independents alone are 60, I think 7. Only independents, those who are independent outrightly. But then there are those NRM leaning. You lost the flag, then you came as independent. Connie Galwango, for example, Agnes Nandutu, Kawasharira, those others, that you lost the flag, but you decided to come. Now everybody knows you are NRM, only that because you lost and got disgruntled, you came that way. Then, of course, the others who are just independent, I do not belong to any party. Now NUP has 3 that failed in the Warukamba vetting committee, and they decided to come. But even when they came that way, they maintained the red beret and everything, people power, our power, and stuff like that. And they managed to go through. Now you find his people power, our power with the port. People power, our power with the clock. People power, our power with the radio. And so they managed to sail through. Same to ANT. Those who did not get, and I even wonder how ANT got this independence, because they fielded about 58, the whole country. And how they got independence is also a thing of another type. So they have 3 independents.
They fielded more than 100 candidates.
About, I think, 182.
Yes.
But then
they got them to have independence.
Exactly, because you have a country of 300 slots.
But I think, again, even that being complicated, like we're discussing, the other issue, of course, we are looking at that factor. But there's also, even within the movement establishment, issues also, when it comes now, even we're talking about the Uganda issue. What do you do with Uganda as a president? We're now talking about Honorable Bobi Wine. But what do you do as President Museveni when all your ministers in the region have been relegated?
Exactly. All the ministers in Uganda, if you take the tally, Yingo, Navakoba, Nankabirwa, Galabuzi, I think also in Chibule, Sempija, the Vice President, Nachiwara Chinji, Kasolo Haruna, Chene, who else? Seninde, Nansubuga. Everybody almost.
No, but I think this is not the first time President Yoweri Museveni is facing such a challenge, because we were the time when actually he could hardly get members of parliament from Acholi sub-region. It was that time actually that you'd find that NRM would find maybe would just get a handful of members of parliament from northern Uganda, but every other time he would come up with
but is he failing to get failing to get a member of parliament is not the same as having a minister who is knocked out.
Yes.
Hey, failing to get a member of parliament is another thing.
Let me give a very good example during the 1996 election that brought in Mao. Mao, fresh from the university, defeated the whole minister for northern region, that is Betty Bigombe. Yes, and it did not stop the president from picking it.
But still, we're not saying he's not going to pick.
Yes.
The challenge is just
the wave.
The wave itself, because you saw how they went through the election. And well, in Buganda, like you said, but he's lost more ministers, actually. It's not really that these ministers cannot be won, they cannot be beaten, but what is in the mind of President Museveni? Now, if Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, because the government is still here until we get another government in May. Now, what about if he convenes a cabinet meeting on Monday? I'm only sure. Now you have your ministers coming for the cabinet meeting, and they are no longer, they are, you know, they're just waiting for
the time when
exactly what happens.
Okay, all right, let's move away from that. Of course, National Unity Platform is going to face a challenge that it faced when it was having its members wanting to come on the NUP card in the NUP primaries. Those that were supposed to be eligible did not get the representation, hence being converted into independents. This election has had over 31,000 people standing as independents, a very huge record by far. And it challenges what we have been calling multipartyism in Uganda. Let's discuss multipartyism versus the rise of independence in representation, or wanting to represent Ugandans in parliament, and also even on the presidential, because we had many, actually more independents on the presidential than we've ever seen compared to the ones that came through on party cards. Starting with you, James.
Now, we discussed last time and we were thinking that Uganda went into multi-party democracy either unprepared or prematurely. Because when you are in a multi-party dispensation, your party is the supreme. That what a party decides is what you go by. And you can do all that you can, but it has to be within the confines and the guidelines of a political party.
If I might interject, you have talked about prematurity of interest into multipartyism. There was a referendum in 2005 for which it was conducted for us to then get into multipartyism. Wasn't that speaking into maturity?
It was a decision. It was a national decision that we need to do this. But individually, maybe we were not prepared.
Okay.
It's like a parent tells you, now you are mature, you can move into your house, or you can get married, but you feel you are not yet ready. Now, what has happened is that we still have moved into the multi-party systems, but we have seen people behave like we are still in a single-party system, or we are still stuck on individual merit. people are being voted not because they are in NOP or in FDC or in movement, but because they have relationships. Maybe, and these are the questions I've been asking, people have been asking at Koledechi. Then the other person would say, but how are you leaving us? You know, you have talked very well, but how are you leaving us? Another person will say, yeah, who is he? In terms of connections, is he related to us in one way or the other? So we have other underlying factors that are determining the election of a person in a political office more than just belonging to a political party. And he raised it here, where you have had a member of parliament is being elected on any of the platforms, either FDC or NOP or any, but the president is being elected as NRM president. 300 people have walked through a polling station. They have elected an opposition MP, but they have also elected a ruling NRM chairperson. What does that mean? That these people are independent of any political inclines. They are not being guided or being motivated by the ideology, the political ideology, but rather the individual and the meritorious way of thinking about the individual that they are putting in office.
Okay, all right, Jagenda Semakoda, on the candidates for presidential lineup that we have had in this electoral process, we've had more independents appearing on this. Actually, the only usual suspects that we've had was incumbent Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and Norbert Mao. The rest have been new to this whole scene of standing for presidency. What is your assessment and thereby the interpretation of this?
It looks good, but it's more to democracy in my thinking. Exactly. In 2004, when we chose to start the discussion and the debate to get into multi-party dispensation, you remember that government decided not to sponsor students to the university, those actually that government sponsors, especially the art students. Many of the students who did their senior six in 2004, they missed an opportunity to go to university and government sponsorship because we were discussing and looking for money to transit and go into this dispensation of multipartyism. Now, when you choose to go multi-party, then there are certain things that you need to get to. For example, the 1995 constitution that we talk about, it was laid out very clearly, and it spelled to us many of these things. How does a person come to parliament, for example? Number one, how do we get a president, and how do we get rid of a president? It's very clear in our constitution that a president shall come from all Ugandans through an elective process, which is adult suffrage. But when we are tired of a president and we want to get rid of a president, then we entrust all our powers. Now 5.5 million people entrust their powers to 2/3 majority, which translates into about 300 people to impeach the president, and it's thrown out. Then the other things is how do we get another president? Should the president maybe get incapacity and stuff like that? But when it comes to a member of parliament, the law is also very clear on how to recall a member of parliament. Now I'm looking at the 1995 constitution before any amendment. It talks about how to recall a member of parliament. And the guidelines there, or the articles are very clear. If you do this and this and this and this and this, you can actually recall a member of parliament and get another one. Now we chose to go multi-party. Now, when we went into multi-party dispensation, having spent all this money, decided and said, here is the way to go. Now, you also have, we have a hybrid system. That the hybrid system that we have has got parties, but it has also got independents. Here is the challenge. When you choose to recall a member of parliament from the House, you can't achieve that today because we did an amendment, and of all the articles there, the article called Article 84 of the recall, which ideally stopped at subsection 6, it has a clause 7 here, which says you can do all these, but you can't achieve it unless you are in a movement system. Now, our constitution talks about multipartyism, but it also has a provision for a movement system, which was in video made. Now, because of that hybrid system, that's why we are actually having these things. Now, to me, I really feel it's more to our democracy in a way. Look at the election that we've just had. You had 5 political parties and 6 independents. Tanzania had elections recently, and they had 15 candidates. None of the 15 candidates came as an independent. All the 15 candidates were representing a political party. And that's what it is like. Now, Katumba Oye would have been a position
in
of a party, and would actually be able to say that the Katumba mirrors his political party.
Exactly.
This is what this political party called Katumba Oye means. This is the party, and their best in this party is actually a Mayambala. So these are some of the issues that we find, and I think to me, I will find another thing to talk about.
As we come to a closure, I am a woman, and I definitely have to talk about women in this race, both on the presidential level. We have direct MPs and women MPs. Amanda Akol, can you assess the performance of women in this particular election?
Well, the performance of women in this election, I start at presidential level. It has actually been very horrible. Yeah, because I just want to say yes, because Kalembe.
Is that being free and fair?
No, it's
actually being free and fair.
Exactly, very fair.
It's being very free and very fair.
Not being free and fair, but being excellent as well. Yeah, because
very free and fair.
Okay, please continue.
Because what we're bringing out this Uganda. Actually is one of the countries in Africa where most African countries come to benchmark the women, how we've emancipated
women emancipation.
Uganda is among the few countries in the world that has special seats for women, affirmative seats at every level. Now, the first vice president, woman vice president on the African continent was a Ugandan. So even now the current speaker, the current speaker was a woman and is a woman. So she is a woman. I sorry to say that. So now the issue I'm saying is this: that when you look at the performance of Kalembe, Kalembe does not bring out that. Would actually see her giving giving her time to the men, which we didn't see. But also, final on this, when you look at the history of women who have contested at presidential level, I think the best so far we've had is Mama Miri Obote.
Mama Miri Obote.
Yes, that is the best, and she was actually the first. That is in 2006. Because when she stood on the UPC ticket, she managed to get over 10 members of parliament from Langa.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's done and dusted. The Electoral Commission has declared the new president of Uganda, President-elect Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Congratulations to you, Mr. President. Congratulations.
Raisi Mteule.
Who? Raisi Mteule.
Yeah, imitate some Kiswahili.
Raisi Mteule.
She has
congratulations to National Resistance Movement for maintaining a sixth term, getting into the sixth term of leadership. 35 years are done and dusted. Now they intend to secure the future, and we are waiting to see how you're going to secure the future for the next 5 years. But please put into consideration the health sector needs to be given more consideration, especially in terms of budget. But from the election hub, it's been a pleasure serving you for the past 2 days, from the 14th of January. Thank you so much to our reporters in the field, our correspondents. Thank you so much for everyone behind the scenes that has been able to make the election hub a success, delivering to Ugandans every single minute, second, and hour of the election process as it has been coming through. Jagenda Samakula, thank you so much for being here with me for the 3 days. James Mututa, thank you so much for coming along, and thank you so much for being with us, and your wisdom and input into this whole exercise has actually been well recognized. Monday Akol, we can't say thank you enough, and I believe we're going to be continuing these discussions with you into next week on Good Morning Uganda.
Thank the ABC management.
Yes.
They've also done their best.
They have
to keep us here. Oh, yeah. We need to thank the management.
Thank you so much, the management of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. You've done a good job. People behind producers, we did have directors behind the scenes that have been able to run this entire 3 days without any hiccups. Thank you so much, and we're grateful. Uganda, you have decided 2021, and for the next 5 years, you now do have a president, and you also do have new members of parliament. We can't wait to see how the August House is going to be performing. Now, we do have Luganda news that is going to be coming up. Of course, we are continuing. We're not done and dusted. The election hub will be climaxed at midnight. We will be having a presidential address from the president-elect himself, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, at 8 p.m. here on UBC, and then we'll be closing it up with Charles Odongtho on the headlines. You know, he's going to be having a panel here just to give it a conclusion on the election that has been free and fair. Thank you so much, Uganda. Until tomorrow, good night.